little, my father was famous.
Hey, what's up there, buddy?
He was the greatest samurai in the empire.
Get that music going. All right, folks, let me know if you can hear me.
He cut off the heads of 130.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I got a lot of notifications just all of a sudden popped up. Hey, Stark Galaxy. What do we already have a thumbs down? What's up with that? It's been like it was like minus 30 seconds when that happened. How do we get a thumbs down already? Doesn't make any sense. Hey, what's up, Argument from Ignorance? Thanks for that, Brian Mullen link. I'm definitely going to be making use of that. And a couple of the insights you made there, I will be looking into. Not that I don't believe you for what he said, but I'll look at it for myself and see if he actually is using that kind of sleight of hand that you were talking about. Very interesting. But it's obviously he's making some basic errors. It's one thing about doing these chats, and you got to say these names out loud. Hey, douchebag von Chats. It's always hilarious. Hey, Blue Marble. What's up? Is the link to the Hangout showing? I'm not sure how all this stuff really works. So you have to let me know if it's available for you guys. Let's see. What's up? Because if so, maybe if we could have some of you guys come in one at a time, have a brief conversation without just being a big, loud, a loud room full of stuff. I especially want to get you in here, Blue Marble, if possible. Let's see. Am I up and going? Stream seems to be okay. Everything seems to be working. Cool. Good. Good. Nice to know the link is in there. What was I going to talk about this morning? There was something that was on my mind. There's a few comments that came in. Oh, thank you, Ken. No problem. My pleasure. And those of you who are making suggestions on different things, that's great. Every so often I get kind of jaded with the amount of bad information out there. There's almost too many targets to go after. And you just want to just start shooting everywhere, and there's only so many hours in the day. So having you guys give an opinion on what the good targets are out there is great, because I don't have time to look at them all. Hey, from Canada, Stuart Chant, Twitwit. Hey, what's up? Are there any first right off the bat, are there any flat earthers on the line, on the board? Still closer. Hey, and by the way, you guys can call me GreaterSapien if you want. You can call me Sapien, you can call me GS. Some of you can just call me Jerry, because that's my actual name. So feel free. You don't have to stand on formality. Hey, what's up? Let's see. I'm going to pull up some of these comments that I got and see if anything else has come through. Any more of these crazy people. I mean, flat earthers. Listen, atheist debunks Delano. Oh, by the way, yeah, shouldn't we all be? It's 7 a.m. here. I guess it's time for church. I don't know if you guys are church going people. It's actually Mother's Day. That's one reason why I'm doing this so early. One, for the people over in Europe that were saying that they were having a hard time catching my cast before, but also try to get this out of the way before it gets into Mother's Day and things like that. I don't know where your coffee is, Mad Dog. Anybody talking about Delano? Oh, that guy. Oh my God. It's 4 p.m. Good. So I know I invited a couple flat earthers yesterday that came across my path. So I'll be interested if any of them show up. Maybe, Big Pig Slapper Oink will show up. He was so hungry to get in here at one point. What are you going to share, Paco? Well, I'm normally up. It is early, but I'm normally up at this time anyway because I need to, during the work week, I try to get up at 5:30 so I can hit the gym before going to work. So, let's see, show that. No flat earthers on here yet. Feel free to share if you put a link up to your Google Doc there, Paco, Paco. I'm not sure what your name is. Morning. Hey, Mona. You had me concerned for a minute there, Mona. I thought you were my sister, Mona, with the exact same initials as you. I was kind of worried, but that's not her style. Okay, let's see. So anybody have a claim that they've heard right off the bat that they want to discuss or have me comment on? And anybody want to dial in? I think you have access to come if you have the ability. The link will allow you to come in and actually talk to me like a real person. So feel free. Let's see, make sure my sound is on. Alrighty, let's take a look at my most recent. There's some really good examples of flat Earth ignorance going on here. See if I can find something worth discussing. Dun, 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 dun. I really wanted to. Would I like to see the rebooted Spawn movie? Not directed by Todd McFarlane. No. I've never been. He's incredibly creative. He's got a great sense of character design, but I've never been a fan of his storytelling personally. So I wouldn't look forward to anything that he's actually developing. So no. And I never really got the appeal of Spawn. I never really got it. It looked great. It's a cool looking character, but I never really got the appeal of Spawn. I don't even care it doesn't even matter to me that he's a black character because he never even felt like a black character. It was just like Todd McFarlane saying, I'm going to make a black guy. Yeah. So didn't feel particularly special. Detonation, do I really think LIGO is picking up black hole mergers? I don't know if that's exactly what it's picking up. I think you need more confirmation to find out what it is. Obviously, there's some large interaction happening that it's getting, that it's sensing. But whether or not it is specifically black hole mergers, I think only time will tell. You can't just accept it right off the bat. It has to be retested and verified more than one way. But right now, I guess that's the only thing that they can use to explain the type of occurrence that they're sensing. Come on in, Blue Marble. Let's see. I've never done this before. I don't know how it works. It may be a terrible experience, but pop in and see what happens. Let's see if that happens. Nigel asks, was I ever religious? Yes, I was. Went through a few religions through the years. I was born into my family. Were they Baptist at the time? I think they might have been Baptist, but the kind of black revolutionary ways of the late 60s and 70s kicked in. And so my mother converted to black Muslim, which is different from, like Middle Eastern Islam. Are you trying to come in? I'm not saying anything. So we were Muslim for a while. My Muslim name was Akil Musadin. And then at some point, she discarded that and became a Jehovah's Witness, and that's what they are to this day. And so I was kind of brought along with that the entire time. As a child, I kind of had to go along with it all. But I was about 12 years old, 12, 13, when I started to question things mainly. And I've mentioned it before on some other videos. I am still, but I was a big comic book fan, and I was a big fan of Thor comics. And so because I thought the Thor comics were so cool, you can't join. Let's see what happens. Let's see if there's something I can do to give me a minute. I'll finish answering this thing, and then I'll see if I can get you in there, Blue Marble. And so reading like Thor comics made me more curious about Thor in general. So then I go to the library and I start reading up on Norse mythology and Roman and Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology, and I started reading up on all that kind of stuff and got more and more interested in it. Hey, Waz. And in reading up on all that, I just kind of noticed that there was a lot of similarity between the stories being told in the mythologies that were being told and what we considered real, what I was told was real. And then I came to realize, which I didn't really know before, that they weren't just mythologies. They weren't just stories. They were once considered actual things. They were religions. And something started to click in my mind. It's like, well, if this was a religion at one point, and over time we figured out that that it was just mythology, either due to one group conquering another one and overtaking it and telling them not to believe that anymore, or interbreeding or whatever, or scientific discoveries, finding out things didn't exist. What was this? If they used to be religion and then became mythology, and their stories were the same as the ones that I was being told were real, who's to say that eventually the stories I'm being told that are real won't be considered mythology because of, war and conquering and people coming in and saying, change your way of thinking. And if they're eventually going to become mythology, aren't they already mythology? So once I came to that conclusion, I was like, yeah, they kind of already are. And once that worked in my brain, didn't take me soon after that. I wasn't believing at all. So I started out religious. Well, I didn't start out religious. I started out the same type of religion pretty much everyone else is, which is, you worship your parents, and then somehow they convince you that you should be worshiping something else. And then I figured out that I didn't need to be worshiping anything. This Star Wars shirt is a kind of homage to the old, Tales from the Crypt type of thing. So this is like, Tales from the Dark Side, old comic book cover style thing. So it's like, Tales of the Dark Side. That's what this is. I get a lot of gifts. People know to give me like pop culture stuff. So I have a lot of different style shirts. So yeah, that's my religious story. Now that I've done that, let me see if I can get an invite or something on here to get someone in. Let's see. Do I need to open somehow? Let's see if there's anything I can do to make this available for people. Like I said, I've never done this before, folks, so please excuse the lack of professionalism. Let's see. Hi, friends, broadcast present to everyone. No. Camera. Let's see. As guests join, hide their audio. Oh, you should be able to just jump on in. Let's see if I can do a more direct invite. Bear with me. Let's see. Argument from ignorance. I'm not sure. I was looking away, so I'm not sure what conversation is there. No, I have not heard the Joe Rogan debate. Sometimes Joe Rogan is so grating. Even when I agree with him, sometimes he's just so incredibly grating. I can't deal. But I haven't. I mean, he's getting better, but he's used to be so incredibly kind of hard headed about things. I had a hard time listening. Screen share, this and that. Let's see. Hey, Blue Marble, if you've done this before, if you have any suggestions on how to open this up to people, I am perfectly willing to take any advice. Let's see. Me, I'm not going to hide. I'm going to present to everyone. Profile. It's public. Interesting. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Oh, you don't have enough. You don't have enough subs to go. Oh, you don't have enough subs to go. Oh, we'll get you some subs. Hey guys, sub to Blue Marble so he can start going live. What are you? You're 14, Blue Marble. Yeah, and I want you to be encouraged in your content. You're starting to put some good stuff together even at your young age. Man, how do I allow people in on this thing? So this is what I was trying to figure out before I went live. This started at 17 minutes ago. Zoltan. That's a great name. Let's see. How do I allow people to get into this thing? Let's try this. Let's try this again. Close. Sorry for the silence, folks. I'm trying to make it so people can get in to this here. Let's see. Is this better? I've just updated the link. Maybe refresh the page and see if that's any better. Can you get in there? Somebody try to get in on this. Refresh the page. Somebody refresh the page.
Hello.
Okay, so we got somebody there.
All right, I'm going to mute your video because I'm going to hear you twice.
Yes, you can. I got Paco.
Yep.
What's up? Cool. So it looks like it's working. You can try to get in here, Blue Marble too. Did you refresh? Hey, Paco, did you refresh and get in here?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Before the link, just it gave me to a page with like nothing on it. It's like it was an empty Hangout or something.
Gotcha. Cool. Let's see. So where are you from, Paco?
Canada.
Canada. It's
Quebec, Canada.
Quebec. And what's your actual name, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I don't mind. My name is Francis Rasco.
Francis? Francis. Okay. Francis.
I'm French.
Gotcha. You're a friend. Yeah. I understand. I'm American and ignorant of such things.
Fair enough.
So how did you come to be in this world of flat Earth, online skepticism, whatever your take is on it.
I've been debating like stuff like pseudoscience on YouTube comments for like 10 years now. So I've seen the first time I've seen the things about pseudoscience where to I believe there's a YouTuber, I mean, I believe the name is Thinking Atheist.
Yes.
I believe that's the first time this even came to my mind. So after seeing that, I was like, oh man, there's some pretty good argument there, and just start to think about it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at Thinking Atheist in a while.
Same.
He made some good content for a while there. I think it just for a while he was kind of the only one doing it, so I was looking at it a lot. But now there's so much content out there. Until you mentioned it, I had forgotten about it. He has a great broadcast voice as well. I think
that too.
Blue Marble coming in.
Yeah, I see him.
Are you there, Blue?
I'm here.
Hey, how's it going?
It's okay.
It's okay. Are you having a good Sunday morning? Did you go to church this morning? Are you?
I was kind of forced to.
Oh, really? So you actually are forced to go to go to church. Where how religious is your family, or are you religious? I don't mind people being religious. It doesn't. I don't think ill of them. If it works for them, it works for them. But is there much conflict between you and your folks when it comes to that kind of thing?
Not really.
No. What are they what's your church out there? Is it Church of England? Is it Catholic? What are you guys doing?
Just a random church.
just a random church. What was the topic today? Did they have a homily? Did they have a particular moral that they were going over today with you?
Pardon? Wait, what's it?
I said, was there a particular?
It's lagging on my screen. I can't quite see you.
Yeah, there's a big delay there. I think Paco's good.
No problem on my side.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's just you're way over there. I was just curious if there is a particular topic. They have what call homilies, where they decide they're going to discuss a particular moral subject on a particular day. Was there anything they discussed today?
Something about fruit, and one being good and one being bad.
Sometimes that is so broad in terms of topics. Something about fruit. So I take it you kind of tuned out. We weren't really paying attention.
I actually fell asleep twice.
Well, that's good. Church is a good place for a nap. At least for me. I don't mean to, if I'm offending anybody out there who is particularly religious. I just remember I got a lot of good sketching done when I had to go to church, because I always brought a drawing pad, and so I could just sit there and draw, or I would picture the seat in front of me as a movie screen, and I would just kind of picture whatever TV show or movie I had recently seen playing on the chair in front of me, and then the time would be up and I'd go home. So, Blue, tell me about Delano. You seem to have done a bit of content on Delano. I've only been able to watch one or two videos, and only partly because it's so painful. What's Delano's story?
God, he's such an idiot. I can't even cope with his stupidity. Man.
What's his take? Is he really a real religious person? Is he just like anti-science, just super conspiracy, or just
He just
dumb?
Religious. In almost all of his videos, he'll just bring up the Bible and read a few verses.
I also, if I'm remembering correctly, he tends to be really insulting and kind of argumentative and kind of offensive, yet at the same time talking about how you have to stay with the Bible all the time, which I always find very interesting. To have people just like, these guys need to be on my nuts because the Bible is the way. It's like, what, really? That was your sentence? How does that work? Hey, Paco, do you have any content? Have you been doing things online, or have you just been discussing things in comment pages?
I do have a bit of stuff on my YouTube channel, but it's more like miscellaneous stuff. It's not necessarily related to anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a second channel under my regular name where I just put like family stuff.
For a month right now, I've been thinking about making a video like top 10 argument like that completely debunked the stuff like flat Earth. I do have one that I posted on the comment section of the Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Google document.
Oh, so you posted it? Okay, I have to stream back through and see.
Sure, no problem. What is the Google the group chat on the Google Hangout? Not the.
Oh, in the group chat. Gotcha. I'll check that. Thanks for distinguishing which one it was. Yeah, I see it there. Cool. Excellent. Are there any flat earthers in the chat that would like to get on the line? Like I said, I did some direct invites of a few people yesterday, and all of them seem to have just felt more like yelling at me online, and in the just like, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be on tomorrow morning, and stop on by. It's like, yeah, you could just you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah, you just run. Well, I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you to come on.
That's literally what they do when I talk with them. I just gave them argument like what I shown in the document about the sunset especially, and they just run away. Never hear about them again.
Well, yeah. Well,
I just got 3 subscribers in the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, I mean, someone asked me the other day on the one on Friday. It's like, what can we do? And I think, and I've been kind of not good about it, is subscribing to other people and kind of pushing other people's content. I'm not really in this to make money. It's not, I have a job. It pays my bills. I'm fine. I'm, unlike what the flat earthers will tell you, I'm not paid by NASA. I'm not a government shill. I'm a guy with a job. I'm not making content because I'm going to get rich off of it. I'm making content because one, I find it a great intellectual exercise. Sometimes it's just fun to exercise your brain to say, you know what, can I explain that to people? And at the same time, I want to give information out there.
Explaining things.
Yeah, and honestly, I think when you explain something to someone or figure out how to explain something to someone, you learn it better yourself. You find the holes in your own learning, in your own knowledge when you try to explain things to other people.
Yeah.
And so, that's M Stone says I get my shill check. Yes, it's called, Google AdSense does pay me a little bit of scratch but I don't get a true shill.
Same. I get like one check every year.
Yeah, I think. I mean, recently I've started to make a little bit, but in the 8 years before this, I think I made $200.
Oh.
It's I'm not sending my kid to college on YouTube money. Now, this year, ever since 11 questions blew up, I've been getting some decent sized checks. But the 8 years before that, like literally, I think it was like $200. Like, I'm not buying a boat.
I get about 100 per year or something like that.
Yeah, and I was doing things few and far between. Now, how many videos do you have out, Blue Marble? Blue Marble, what do you mind saying your real name? If you don't, that's fine. But
I've got 28 of videos right now.
28 videos. And how often have you been doing this? mean, like, how long have you been doing it?
Like the last few months, I think.
Yeah. Okay. See, he's got 28 videos in the last few months. I've got 100 and something, but that's over, 8 or 9 years. And I think, so I was putting out one every 3 or 4 months for a while there. And that's no way to build like a base, get subscribers if you're not putting stuff out there or not. Cause I just, I'd put stuff out when I felt like it, cause I wasn't putting things out, because, I felt the need to make sure I had content. It's like, I have an idea. I'll put it out. I don't have an idea for a couple months. I don't put anything out. And so you don't build a base that way at all. It's consistent product. Like, it's been a couple months. You got 28 videos out there. And how many subscribers do you have, Blue? Did we lose you?
Blue's mute.
Yeah, Blue's muted. How'd that happen?
Not sure.
Okay. And we got some. Okay, so when Blue comes back in, because I did not mute anybody. Let's see. Blue is not on my end. Who else do we have here? We have Lucas.
Lucas.
Yes, hi, my name is Lucas. Yes, I'm from Argentina. I follow your channel because when I have my channel, some channels from my own, and I follow the way you I don't know how to put it in English. Refute the flat Earth movement. Yes, and I feel a little guilty because I have a channel called World Peace, but in Spanish, and I'm starting a channel called World Peace in English, and I have to practice my English. And I want to thank you for your work, and I enjoy your channel.
No, thank you very much. Hold on, JB. Hey, Lucas. So, do you have much kind of anti-science, kind of flat Earth, these kind of fringe things? Is there much of that going on in Argentina?
When they proposed me to speak of the flat Earth in Spanish, they promised me that they will make an investigation out of it. But they made the same mistake that in the US they start doing like a belief system that is dogmatic, and it's not really an investigation. It's just like trying to convince people about, hey, you have to think now that the Earth is flat. And when you analyze the arguments, they are all invalid arguments, and they made a lot of fallacies. So we are in the discussion, and that I think this is a way to distract people of the real problem that.
Hold on, we got if we can maybe mute a few here. Let's see, because it's getting a little bit of feedback here. Continue, Lucas. Go ahead. I'm gonna mute a couple just for.
Or you, and that's what happened in flat Earth, is distracting people of the real problem of Earth. And because most people are tired of corruptions and lies, they think that all NASA is lie, that all the industrial complex of the space industrial complex is a lie, and we don't know what the lie it is until we form a unity of the people and we audit all science, church, military, and end the secrecy like Kennedy told us. And what?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between people say, well, you just accept everything that NASA says. It's like, no, but I know that there's a system of other scientists and other engineers and other space agencies that are all kind of, checking these things. Yes, it's completely possible that, not even possible, it's absolutely likely that for, a government is lying to their people about something. It's happening. That's a fact. But what they're lying about, we don't know. But if we go into everything thinking that everything NASA says is a lie, everything a particular government agency says is a lie, everything a particular school says is a lie, then you're already closing yourself off to actually finding out what the truth is. Healthy skepticism is great, and a true investigation is absolutely necessary of these things. But if you just go in with the assumption of that everything's a lie, you're not even allowing yourself to be receptive to actual facts. Yeah, so it's not good.
And we must end secrecy to know what is lie and to know what is true. So the arguments of flat earthers are lie because they lie. They take images out of context. They take speeches out of context. And if you invest some time, you will recognize the lies. But the the movement is still growing, and people are very fanatic and they are aggressive. So
Right.
that's why it's an issue. And we have to focus in this world war that is upcoming between
folks.
Israel and Iran that will make all the world to be in it. And no one cares. The popes say we are in a world war, and we don't care about war. We don't care about financial disasters. We are like in a bubble, and what is going to happen is what always happened. They change the ways of production, they make a big war, and they start over because we are all in bunker. The fiat currency is in red numbers. Bank. How do you say when it's broken?
Broken. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why I always try to alert people about this subject and not to get distracted on flat Earth because it's scam. The way they
I can understand about you don't want to get distracted. But this, and I'll just make the statement, and I see a couple other people have popped in, and I want to be able to get them in. But I think that people have we're not good at it, but we do have the ability to multitask. There are a lot of things that are going on in this world that need attention. And I think that we have the ability to you pay attention to more than one thing. I know that flat Earth stuff is a distraction to a certain degree, but I think it's kind of corrosive, and so it still needs to be kind of held at bay for a while. But at the same time, not so much energy put into it that you are not watching everything else that's going on. If you're paying too much attention to the left hand, you're going to get hit with the right. But I don't want to think that we can't think about more than one thing.
Something. It's necessary to refute flat Earth and to show people the truth. But I'm saying that flat earthers are distracting people because they are saying that is the key to salvation. And so that's what we have to analyze. Yes, a big flat earther in Argentina called Iru Landucci in the channel World Peace, in Spanish, Paz Mundial, make the subject viral because we assist him and we trust him that it will be an investigation, objective, neutral, and it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
A dogma. So all Saturdays we are making an open challenge to any flat earther who can prove the earth is flat because we think they can't. And if they can't do it, we are proving that this is a dogmatic belief with invalid arguments. And excuse my...
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I see we got a JB and we got an Alexander in here. I think JB was might have been in first.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't want to hop in. Hey, what's up, JB? Where are you from?
Hi, man. Can you hear me, first of all?
Oh, I hear you clear.
All right, thank you.
I'm liking the dreads. I'm liking the dreads, man.
Yeah, Nutty Dread lover, my man. So to let you know a little bit about me, I was born and raised in Paris, France. I'm French. And right now, yeah, that's why I was making the funny comment about you, Francis, I guess.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, excellent. Blue Marble, we got JB talking right now, and we have a new person, Alexander, in here, and we're going to get to Alexander as well, and then we'll start circling back. Go ahead, JB.
So yeah, I was born and raised in France, and I moved to Canada 6 years ago. So right now I'm broadcasting from Montreal, Canada. Sorry?
No, never mind. I live nearby.
Canadians make fun of
right?
each other in there.
Anyway, I get your throat later, Francis.
No problem.
All right. Well, yes, I discovered your channel by chance. I was browsing the web and I saw all of these videos about the flat Earth stuff, flat Earth theory, flat Earth, and so on and on. And I found you really, really patient to take the time to explain everything to these people, to give scientific proof how much the flat Earth is. I mean, it's not possible. Why not? You explain, and they keep coming and again and again and again. But you know what? I realized one thing. First of all, there is almost nothing you can do with somebody wants to believe instead of knowing. We know because we can test we can test everything we do. We have proof. We have fact. And every time you test, the result of the test is always the same. But these people, they prefer to believe instead of knowing. So, yes, like somebody said earlier, I guess that was Lucas, I'm not sure. He said that or you even say that we need all the time to answer to those people because they are bringing false allegation. That allegation, this is false stuff, and it is our duty to respond to these people. Let me give you a quick example.
Yeah, it is.
Remember, in the past, there is this guy, this East German guy, Adolf Hitler, who said, "We are the superior race. We need to do all this stuff," and everybody was applauding. And we know what happened in Africa lately. We have those. In Rwanda, we have the Hutu and the Tutsi. They say, "Hey, we are superior," and they kill each other over nothing because nobody says something about it. So I'm afraid we have to do something about it to avoid history to repeat itself again. Because if we do not respond to these people, what could happen? They're going to believe anything. They refute everything, basic science, basic physics that we all know we've learned and prove at school. They say, no, it's not true. So if it's not true, can you prove us? What's your theory? Until today, I've never seen a single proof that hasn't been debunked by you or any other people. So yeah, sorry, I'm talking. I talk a lot, but
yeah. I want everybody to have kind of their little introductory speech.
Thank you.
When they come in, because I know we all have. I personally, I like to see this energy. I like to see this fire that people have, and so. It's great. I think it's it kind of feeds each of them. When I see you from where you are, I know that I'm not the only one out here in the vacuum.
Correct.
So when I see Blue Marble at 14, just starting the next generation of soldiers in the army of science, it's great. So yeah, I applaud your energy. I want to give everybody a chance. Is there anything else real quick before I go on to Alexander?
Just to let you know, nothing to do with the flat Earth, but I realize we have so much in common, my man, because not only the look, the face, but I realize that you are into science, just like me. I love, even if I'm not a scientist myself, but I really love science because it's because of the science that we can move on and progress. And I realize you were a martial arts practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Excellent. What do you practice?
Kung Fu Wushu.
Oh, Kung Fu Wushu. Do you mean weapon work or?
Yep, weapon and hard style.
And hard style. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in the Bay Area, or if I'm ever your way,
no problem. We'll try that.
No, it's always fun to just experiment with other people. We're actually, and I'll probably try to do a little broadcast from it in a week or two. We're going to the studio that I work at and practice and teach. We're going to have an open session with a bunch of other local schools, just like a kind of old school sparring sessions. Like, hey, everybody from your local school, come. You can fight them. You can spar amongst yourselves if you just want to show your own style, or we can kind of do a cross style stuff. If you want to have someone who's doing Wing Chun and have someone doing Silat together, just as a playful kind of challenge to our own system. Because one thing to find out, and I'm sure you found this out, is when people are doing things, you train with someone who does your same style, and so you get used to certain types of things, and then somebody comes at you with something totally different, and you're like, wow, okay, this is real world stuff. I need to, it's a different experience, and also, honestly, it's very similar to what we're doing here. How's that for a segue? In that we kind of get used to our own ways of thinking, our ways of doing things, and to interact with each other here and see other people's point of view and the way they execute, going after a claim. Like, I don't go after claims the same way Slice Barkane goes after claims. He doesn't go after claims the same way Wolfie goes after claims. And so the way we, kind of watch each other, it's like, oh, I like that move. I love that move he did. I'm going to steal that move and I'm going to use it when I go after somebody. And I'm going to move on to Alexander. But one thing, and this is kind of a question for both of you. I'm assuming, Alexander, you're not a flat earther? Okay, good. I think you might be muted here. I'm not sure. But real quick, have you had any, at least throughout my entire life, I've had a little bit of blowback for being Black and pro science and being like super curious about science. Has that been a issue with you guys from wherever you live? I'm just curious about that. Go for it. Either of you chime in. Make sure you're not muted. Are you there?
Well, anyway,
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, it was on my end. Sorry about that. So first of all, hello everyone. Bonjour, JB. I'm actually calling and connected from the East Coast of the U.S., from just outside of Philadelphia, but on the New Jersey side.
Mm-hmm.
So first, I just want to say I appreciate what you do. I found your channel, I think like a few people here, just by chance, so I was very happy to find it. I'm currently devouring your content, both the new stuff and going back through the history, so great stuff.
Some of the old stuff I want to go back and redo, but you know.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, I'm not going to, because that's like, you know, rewriting history, and nope, that's the way I did it. So
I'm sure you get nostalgic if you do look at it somewhat. But yeah, I mean, I have definitely experienced being an African American in America. Blowback mostly from within our own community, unfortunately.
Yep.
I hate to even use that term because I think I look at it as we're all one community, but you understand what I'm saying when I say that.
Yes. I am of the idea that yes, race is an artificial construct.
Yes.
But at the same time, it exists. It is. Way. Yeah.
Yes, it is what it is. So yes, but you know, I make sure that, like, I'm a member of AAAS, the American Association for Advancement of Science.
Mm-hmm.
I take my children out, like there was the recent Science March a few weeks ago. So I make sure that not only are we visible, but that my children are exposed to the fact that science is cool, man. Science is, you know, everyone loves their iPhone.
Do you mean you brainwash them?
Yeah, I do. I admit it. Like I have come to the dork side. I have my shirt on. I make sure that they know that it's cool to be smart and to use your brain to investigate the world. And one of the things I wanted to point out right at the start here is what I love about the way that you teach in your videos is that you don't just say these are the facts, but you explain to people ways of thinking that will help them to believe more true things. Because what we're facing in America right now is people believe whatever is thrown at them because we have not developed as a society the tools to discern what is true and what is just something someone linked to you from Facebook. So what you're doing, I think, is critical right now, and I appreciate what you're doing. And one thing I wanted to point out, I used to have dreads back in the day. I do some Tang Soo Do and some Tai Chi.
Oh, man.
An interesting thing that I want you guys to think about is in the martial arts community, sometimes people develop beliefs that are not in accordance with reality.
Oh, don't even get me started.
So I think even in our own community, we see some of that.
There's so much woo.
Yeah.
So much woo in martial arts community.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, I'm going to go on a retreat in a couple months. It's a seal out retreat for a week, and some people are going to be coming in from Indonesia. And there's kind of like there's almost a cult like mentality when it comes to like the main leader. Sometimes they're great people, but at the same time, there's this like reverence and magic that's brought to the martial art. And they'll say, okay, you need to do this. You need to, you know, you're bringing the energy from your dantian and your blah blah. And I'm like, you mean hold my core? Is that what you mean?
Right.
No, it's focusing from your. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever you need to visualize, good, but it's a visualization technique. I'm not going to give you any shit for it right now, but it's just a visualization technique. It's not really magic.
So we have to, we have to at the same time be careful not to go too far, because I do believe in the power of like meditation and mindfulness. I'm sort of in the Sam Harris camp with that stuff, that there is a spirituality, but the word has been so polluted that sometimes people use it to mean things that are just things that we can't demonstrate to be true.
Well, no, people ask me, it's funny, people do ask me, it's like, how are you so calm when it comes to dealing with certain things? And I say regular meditation and breathing exercises. It's just like, it's keep everything kind of balanced. But I don't think it is like a a magic thing. It's like, hey, there's body chemistry too. It's like there's these things that you do that can stimulate hormones and this and that. But the martial arts community is it's amazing. It's very so it is funny.
GreaterSapien.
Yeah, who else is in there?
Hey, it's Team Skeptic. I want
Yes,
to.
Father Skeptic. Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. I want to elaborate on what the gentleman just said. There's a lot of anti-pseudoscience skeptics like myself who will discount meditation. Now, I personally meditate every day. I've recently I meditated before I found out about cubism, but I want to just bring up something that I've been studying lately that kind of ties in like the quantum mechanics of the universe with meditation and how you can manifest when a lot of the ancient meditators talk about manifesting reality through meditation. A lot of people try to take that literally and say, oh, you're trying to bring an apple by thinking about it, make an apple appear. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's talking about folding the future of the universe so that it folds in your advantage instead of disadvantage. And what cubism speaks of is cubism says basically that probabilities are built throughout time. So if you start flipping a quarter and you start to notice that you're getting more heads over time, then what the universe does is the universe makes it easier to give you heads more often. Now, it might be 53 to 55% of the time and not exactly 50%, but what it's saying is the act of you actually making the measurement, flipping the coin, it actually influences the result of the coin over time. So basically, when a test is first done throughout the universe, let's say a test has never been done, there is no probability as to what the answer is going to be of that test. Let's say it's a random test where you have to pick a number 0 to 100, right? So as you begin picking this number, the universe starts giving you closer to what you've been getting. So that's why they say, like meditation, when you start looking inward, you start, wanting better for other people instead of better for yourself. The universe rewards you as being, the person that you're supposed to be inside of the universe, a good person. And cubism is kind of like that. It's where it takes, once you start making measurements, the universe starts building a probability after you basically start making the measurement. So that if you're a good person and you do good, the universe does good back to you. And that's your measurement against the universe. And it helps me, I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe the universe lives. So I believe that if you, it's an evolving character, I guess. And I believe you get back what you put in. All the ancients talked about this. All the ancients said, put in what you want back out of it. Same thing goes with this universe. Put in what you want back out of it. You want people to treat you right? Treat other people right. People will treat you right. And that's not necessarily just a construct of humans being humans, but actually it's a construct of the universe rewarding you for the good that you put back into it.
And whether or not it's actually true, like it will really happen, and it's a good way to live.
Yeah, it's a great way to live.
It's like,
it benefits society.
It's like, so oftentimes for me, that's why I don't have a lot of issue with with religion in terms of like how people having it in their own life, faith, spirituality, religion, as long as it's helps them contribute to society. It's like if you're religion X, and it's kind of weird to me, but you're getting up and you have a job and you're treating your family right and you're raising your children and you're contributing to society, I'm like, good on you. I'm not going to tell you to stop. Yeah, I'm just not going to do it. Now, if you decide that you need to take your religion, you need to impose it on me and in my schools and things like that, then I'm going to say, okay, now that's a line we're going to have to discuss.
Right. Have you covered the prison population of atheists yet?
No, I have not.
1.9%. I believe that's worldwide. 1 out of 50 people in prison is an atheist or agnostic or does not believe in God. That means 49 of every 50 prisoners you find in prisons across the world is going to have some kind of belief in God, some kind of moral value that they put on life due to a religious text. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I wouldn't put too much stock in that stance. Firstly, because think about the percentage of the world population up to this point that has been religious. It's close to at least 90%, right? 90, 95% at least. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but if you're a prisoner and you're coming up for parole and you found Jesus, your odds of parole have increased dramatically. So
Now, hey, I'll agree with you on that. As a member of the United States penal system for a while, I will agree with you on that. Yes, presentation is everything. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of times, and you can look at this through history, look at the wars that are religious wars. They're all based on the difference of ideology. Has nothing else to do with anything. Okay, there was, unless you want to say, maybe they did it in the name of God, but they really did it for local resources or whatever the case may be.
Right.
The idea that Muslims, for instance, like radical Muslims, not all Muslims, but let's say radical Muslims, they have a hatred for other people that is based on an ideology. They were basically subscribed their morals, because their morals are based on what they believe to be right, and they're so like wound up in their beliefs that they're willing to kill other people just because they don't believe the same way. And that's what, to me, that's what religion does. Religion wants to own your morals. Religion wants to guide your morals the way they say that their prophet or their God or their whatever has dictated. And for you to not follow those morals is a personal attack on them. And it should never be.
Can I give a quick answer to this?
Yes,
thank you. To me, JB speaking, to me, what you just said is called extremism or terrorism, because to my understanding of a religious person is supposed to accept that somebody else doesn't share the same beliefs.
Absolutely.
And it should be okay. Let's take an example. Let's say I'm a Christian and I'm a devoted Christian. I go to church every Sunday. I believe. But I'm going to start to point you out because you're Muslim or a Jew, and I start to speak on you because you're Muslim or Jew. I'm not a religious person anymore. I'm an extremism because I can stand the fact you don't share the same practice or religion than me. That sounds to me funny,
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Lucas has been there up for I don't know if he has anything to contribute. I know you've been quiet for a while.
Same.
Exercising my in the chat. I'm just letting you direct the Hangout. I know how this is. I've been doing this for 5 years with open Hangouts. I face trolls that hack the Hangout. They menace me with arms and all sort of fighting because I'm saying this humanity have to start taking care of its actions and stop wasting time pretending some God is going to save us, because we are here to take care of ourselves, our families, our friends, and this world. And that's a mistake.
No, I get that. I mean, it's all what I'm of the mind. I have religious parents, so it comes up all the time. It'll come up again today because I'm going to talk to my mom, and because Mother's Day here, and it's all well and good to say that that God's going to take care of it. Jesus is going to come save us way down the line. But it's like, what? Right now, right here, we need justice amongst ourselves. We need to take care of it now. Great. Thank you for the promise of something in the future. But you know what? I don't have time to wait for the future.
Yes.
We need to deal with it. We need to
make it now. A political leader to save us. That's more crazy. A political leader that's only been making laws for the one that have the capital and owns of the land, and make all crazy things because we are son of genocides. Which society is not born in genocide or slavery? And we accept of all kind of madness that I can't be in this war. I'm making a promise. If the war continues like this, by the time they implement the suicide boot machines, the SACOM,
the suicide boots,
because this war doesn't make fucking sense. We can use science to make the ESS, we say it in Spanish.
The ISS, yeah.
Yes. And we can solve world hunger, and we can give every human being the opportunity to shine and blossom like a flower. I don't understand those things. So that's why I'm doing this, and I understand how this works, and I'm quite here till you decide the way of the flow. I have to go in like 40 minutes. I have to make a survey in my Spanish channel and in 1 hour, but I bumped into this opportunity. You made an open hangout, and
yeah, no, thank you very much
for that.
participating.
And I want to take time to thank your work in YouTube, exposing some positives about flat Earth and the way you explain things. I love the video. I love the way you do the things. So I'm here more to say thanks.
No, thank you very much. I mean, there's, people will ask why do you do this? Why do we all do this? Isn't there more important things? Or and it's true, there are very important things. But it's like, why do I spend, and you probably have the same answers. It's like, why do I spend time doing this? Why do I produce these videos? Is because I believe that we should all be doing what we can do. It's like I can do this. It's like, so, I don't have time to get to Washington D.C. and do this and that, and I go to the schools and I help as much as I can. But what I can do is, at least I have the gift of gab. I can talk. I have a fairly decent talent of turning complex things into normal language, and I know how to produce videos. So why shouldn't I use those abilities to get the information out there? I mean, that's what I can do. We should all be doing what we can do. And so teaching, explaining things, putting things online, it's almost literally the least I can do. I should be doing more, and so that's why
I'm doing this because we think we live in critical times. The way we decide in the future, we accept what is imposed us, this next world, how much debt every country has. And we are all letting that happen, and the environment. And the solution is killing a lot of people and making a new world from the transhumanist point of view. And the ones that will be the fit to survive will be the one that can adapt to that changes that they are making it clear that it will happen. If you agree with that, okay, that's the human decisions. I just expressing my mind, and I agree 100%. Everyone must do. Like every flower blossom, it weighs. Every human being must do so. And we can do this with all the science and knowledge. It's like Einstein says, all the technological progress, but the conscious progress doesn't match it. We don't have, I don't know, compassion is the word in English. I have to see the translator, but
yes.
Yeah. No, yeah. Thanks. Good points. Were you trying to say something there, Alexander?
No, I was. Well, first I was going to chime in on something that Lucas said about the political leaders and people in America, especially. We look at Trump as the problem, but to me, I see Trump and leaders like him as the symptom of a deeper problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And I look at I think you're in Montreal, right? And I look at Justin Trudeau, and I look at the difference in the leadership in Canada versus America. And you can look at the health of the nations by looking at that. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And again, I think if we help teach people how to analyze information, how to analyze what a political candidate is saying for truth value, maybe people won't just slurp it up like they did with what Trump was saying.
May I interject?
I think that's Father Skeptic's in there.
Yeah.
Where you're coming in.
Well, this is a topic of mine that I love discussing, and I don't put a lot of videos out on it because of the actual far left agenda that YouTube does have. It's nothing, they are very open about their far left policies, but I want to point out something that's going on in Canada. Their freedom of speech is under attack because of Justin Trudeau. You should be, while I'm going to say something about Trump because I'm not a Trump supporter. I am an America supporter. I don't care who's in office as long as it's somebody who's making this country better, not worse. I will tell you this about Trump. He is not going to let your freedom of speech be taken away. He is in Canada, you cannot misidentify somebody if they tell you if you intentionally, let's say, if I say, hey, today I'm identifying as a girl and you don't address me as she or her, well, I can actually file civil lawsuits against you.
Don't demand money. I don't
Well,
think
yeah,
so.
no. I think
believe,
you're right. I think you're right. Actually, I think it's only in certain educational systems at this point. What's the what is the law
I
that they
believe
passed?
Logic made a video about that.
Okay, well,
Correct. He did. Logic
now,
did
now,
make a video on that.
well, yes, it's not a matter of on the streets, person to person. It is in government facilities, but at the same time, it still is their freedom of speech. And this is happening. How about in England, where it's happening? Can you deny that it's happening out there?
You'd have to cite the law. I don't
I
know.
think it's
but
called C-119. I'm not sure because I'm not Canadian, and I'm just recently following over what's going on up there. And it is in the professor. It is in the government within government. Like if a citizen goes to the government and they want to be addressed. And again,
Absolutely.
I may be. But that's the stepping stone. That's the stepping stone to making feelings worth, giving feelings worth physical value.
Right. So you have to be careful with slippery slope arguments. It's a fallacious way of reasoning. But what I'll say is this: I don't personally believe government should have the right. For instance, if I walk in for a marriage license and I'm in an interracial marriage, my wife is Filipino,
Okay.
and I don't think the government should have a right to say, "Hey, you nigger," when I come in. We can't marry you to this woman.
You're absolutely right.
So when we say free speech, I think we have to be careful. And I also don't think that a government employee, if the law is that 2 men should be able to marry, or 2 women, or a black person and an Asian person, I don't think a government employee working in that office has the free speech right to say, no, I'm not going to marry you. I'm not going to give you the license. I think we have to be careful of the difference between free speech and the government's obligation to treat everyone equally under the law.
Yeah.
Can you say something about this?
Yes, sir.
Well, in France, we have this law. The free speech is, of course, is protected by law in France, but the complexity is when is a free speech,
right?
And when the public insult becomes a public insult. I know there is the context, there is the law. The law says you cannot insult publicly somebody, but language can be tricky, especially in language like French. You can say you can use the rhetoric, right? And you can say whatever you want a certain way. So when what you say becomes a public insult and when it's not, that's making it a bit tricky. But I understand anyway, the freedom of speech exists, but how to be sure what you said is in fact not as a disguised insults to somebody else. That's the tricky part.
Now, can I agree with you, Jay. Can I address Alexander real quick?
Sure.
Alexander, with what you said just a second ago, I 100% agree with you. I think that under no circumstances should any government or any government employee consider anything about you other than you are a person. I do think that biologically you're a male, and I think that there's some tricky stuff that goes behind transgenderism, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's a government's employee's job to recognize your misidentification. Now, as far as a gay couple goes, I believe we had this problem in South Carolina, was it, where the woman refused to marry
I think so.
a gay couple?
Yeah, we're talking about the same woman.
She deserved to be fired. She deserved to be fired. Point blank, no question about it. You're a human. You have the rights. As any right that I have, any black person should have. Any right that I have, any woman should have. Any right that I have, any gay person should have. The only rights I believe that it should exist out there that should promote one person over another are the rights of women that the stuff that we biologically can't do, like have children. You should give women time off to raise a child. I do believe that, we look out now, you see how many flat earthers, the product of not having a good family upbringing, not having a good educational, having parents that care about the education of their children to make sure they are learning the right thing, to put them in positions to use critical thinking so that when they get to adulthood and their parents just say, okay, great, I'm no longer responsible for you, they haven't developed that critical thinking part. A lot of society is based around that, and that's why you get a lot of these ignorant people out there that feel like let's say, for instance, the far right in their their race hating agenda. They really do have race hating agenda on the alt right, the far right. It doesn't mean everybody on the right doesn't like black people. It just means that there are members of society on the right side that are completely against the advancement of any race but their own.
Right.
And then you got people on the left.
So I guarantee.
Well, I am too, actually. I was never on the race hating side of the Republican Party. What I was more on the conservative side of the
fiscal conservatism.
Yeah. Now I'm more center left, I would say. I'm dead center in the belief that I do not believe that there's any human that should not have the same rights as me, except for somebody like, let's say, Charles Manson. You know, a person who's a substandard to what we would say as a cultural society. He has forfeited his rights as a human being. I don't believe we should feed those people in prison. I just think the moment that we realize that they're a problem to our society, they should be put down at that moment.
Okay.
I think that they should say, okay, guilty, death penalty. Yes, send him to the other room, shoot him. All right, he's dead, guys. Don't worry about, Charles Manson anymore.
So let me jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say one thing and then I'll be quiet for a bit. To anyone who's listening to this, look up Scientific American. I think 3 months ago, they had an issue that had a lot of stuff in here about this transgenderism. If you Google Beyond XX and YY or XX and XY by Scientific American, look that up and look into that article and the rest of the articles in that issue. And I think anyone who wants to be scientifically informed in this topic must read those to begin with.
Can you put that? Can you just make a note of that in the chat?
Yeah, this is my first time doing a Google chat. I'll do my best.
Same here. So I haven't really done this. It's like my third of these live things.
Okay.
So
I never done it live with YouTube, but I did make a bunch of hangouts like that with a couple of friends. I wanted to say something about government and politics. Whenever I say that, a lot of people think I'm like an extremist or something, but I'm more into technocracy. I believe the leader should be educated into pretty much anything we can, because otherwise they will not be able to make the proper decision for politics and laws.
I'll agree with you and say that that's really hard for a leader to do, to represent every single person properly, because every single person is so unique to every other single person that my needs are definitely going to be different than GreaterSapien's needs, that are definitely going to be different than Blue Marble's needs.
Yeah, sure.
And that's
at the same time,
democracy works, so we can get the majority of people to try to cover somebody who represents the majority of people.
Well, that's what
you guys
happened
talking about politics
already.
now?
Otherwise, it will not.
Back and forth. We're hopping on different subjects here.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to send this in a political way. I really love talking about politics because I try to find the best way to help. I always, from a mathematical standpoint, of course, try to find the #1 way to help as many people as possible with trying to cause as least strife as possible as I can to other people. And that's really hard to do. Anytime you think of it from those standards, even if you take 10 people and say, how can I satisfy all 10 people? That's really, really, really hard to do without dissatisfying at least one.
Well, the people of today are the politician of tomorrow. If they're not educated, they will make very bad decisions.
I agree with you 100%.
That's what we see today with Trump. And I believe I don't know, the guy behind Trump, if Trump dies or something, he's a creationist.
Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Come on, Mike Pence is. Yeah.
Bad
But to bring this back around, I think, and I see Blue Marble dropped probably because he's not particularly interested in the political end of things. But it's all kind of tied together when you start thinking about the importance of critical thinking and the ability to really investigate ideas to find out if they're going to be effective or not, and that affects everything. If we raise a generation of people that don't have critical thinking skills, don't have that really good bullshit meter, to bullshit detector to really tell when things just aren't fitting critically, then we're going to have more and more politicians that aren't, leaders that don't have that ability, where they're going to start voting for people who just make a good impression on them. It's like, I could have a beer with this guy. He's one of us. And that's all well and good, to have a guy that you feel comfortable with, but at the same time, you need to make sure that's a person who has the ideas and the ability to think about the issues that are going to be important to society. So even though, we started this conversation out mostly about, science and flat earth and this and that, in the end, this, politics gets influenced by these type of things. It's important.
Absolutely.
It touches on everything.
In California, some flat earthers made politics with making a rocket, the one that went 300 meters. He's a politician, so it's always, everything is mixed. But the point I want to bring now is that we have to understand in this unique present we're having that we can do things that our ancestors didn't even think. Our ancestors that have the ideas of freedom and everything we're talking right now would love to have all the tools we have in this present right now to change things. And I think every day we are letting the train go by, and we have the chance right now, right here. That I can say like Kung Fu Panda, that's the way of the gift of the present. We are living always now in this present. And this is a way to spread in this thing. But the idea of democracy is that people can control their politicians, but we can't. You can control. You want troops in Middle East. You want troops in all the parts of the world. You want to be in debt and to have to follow Israeli instructions as United States citizens. You like the inflation that is going on to the dollar and all the things that is happening. I'm sure you don't want that. And if you could, you will try to put an end to bad practice of politics. I don't know how to express it in English. Excuse my English. No, I always think in Spanish. I can program that way, and that doesn't fit English. But that's what I have to wanna always realize about this, because that Trump or any politician doesn't make the laws. There are powers behind them, and politics is like a manager. The face we see like a manager for us to express our frustrations. Oh, Trump that, or Clinton that, or Obama that, and the guys are like puppets, and we all know that the finance market or the finances of the world, the debt, is slave. Are the new how do you say, the blackberries? No, they use slave in the food and the thing that ties your hands.
The handcuffs,
the police,
chains,
yeah,
okay.
And the chains,
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
It's the debt that we have. And all this bad practice in politics, economic, industry, where the law of economic low cost and big beneficios. I forgot the word. Wait a minute. Beneficios in English. I'm using the
translator.
Benefits.
Yeah, benefits.
I have the most problem with my English is the words that are related, because I'm speaking in Spanish and I'm inventing that word, benefits. Low cost and big benefits is the law of the capital, the market. And we have to know that we have the power to say no. And if we unite, we can't be we can't lose. It's united, we win, divided, we lose. And that's what's happening. And flat earthers divide. I know flat earth women that will not marry with glovers, like they say, or that mentality. And the great division that is going on in the world, that's what flat earth is contributing. But they are setting an example as well. They are setting the example that if they unite, they can make a big noise, and president has to talk about flat earth, and flat earth is in TV, and flat earth this, and but war and the environment and the environment disaster that we are living, that in 100 years we will face a massive extinction of life in this world, and we don't care. Now it's the World Cup of soccer, and everyone, soccer, and the politicians here are making the laws that protects workers worst. They are making everything like slaving people with the laws, and nobody cares. And nobody cares. Beer, soccer,
luckily,
sex.
luckily, we do. Luckily, many of us do, and we just need to be more vocal about it.
Unite more, the one we do, and try to create a new way of life where we can cooperate.
Now, you did say something that I found funny there, because I have not come across many flat Earth women. I don't know.
Fair point.
I came across.
There's only a few.
Yeah. You do come across a lot of them, because I maybe just a small handful. It's just
I have to apologize, because flat Earth in the Spanish world make viral because of the channel Paz Mundial and Iru Landucci, and everyone start talking because he promised me a fair investigation, and he betrayed me, and now he's almost famous. He went to UK to make this congress and talk bullshit about Argos and Son of Zeus and all that kind of false.
If I may say something quickly.
Arguments.
Yeah, no problem. I saw you waiting there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the roots of this problem is like you said earlier, is the critical thinking. But to be able to use the critical thinking, you must have good enough educational system when you've been taught how to use your brain, how to think for yourself, how to do research, how to cross-examine your research, and to challenge yourself and again and again and again and again. When you don't have this good educational system, you tend to believe any kind of bullshit. I'm sorry. You know what? I found out about flat Earth only 2 years ago by chance. I was browsing the web and I saw flat Earth, Earth is flat and so on. I thought that was a joke at the beginning. I thought that was a total joke. And looking, I'm sorry?
Poe's law.
Yeah. And the more I was looking to it, the more I found that some people firmly believe that Earth is flat. And I said to myself, that's not possible. How can you believe such a thing? And I realized, again, due to the lack of education, the lack of research, the lack of reading, and the deep influence of social media, guess what you have? These people.
Did you say something in there, Blue Marble?
No, I believe it was Paco.
Yeah, I said Poe's law. The Poe's law is you cannot tell if something is a parody or serious unless the author is explicitly saying.
Yeah, I started making videos on moon landing denial because I had a friend who was a moon landing denier, and it wasn't until just until a few years ago that the arguments for moon landing against the moon landing started to drop this idea that the Earth was flat in there. And first it was just like, oh, you don't believe in the science, and you think engineering doesn't work that way, and you think they faked it, and why did it? Wait a minute, what's that about the Earth being flat? I'm sorry. I thought we were having a conversation about the size of an engine of a rocket and its ability to get to the moon. What, the Earth flat now? This is a thing?
Yeah. My opinion about flat earthers, it's much more psychological than what most people will realize. Humans have a desire to want to feel special. That's why we seek out God.
I call it the secret knowledge club.
Yes,
pretty much.
Secret knowledge club, exactly. So if us 8 in here, right, or 7, I guess, if us 7 in here have an inside knowledge secret, right? And guess what we now are? We are special. And guess what? If this secret is a global secret, and I use the word global on purpose there, guys. If it's a global secret, then guess what? We are now 7 of 7 billion. We are 1 in 1 billion special. And that makes us much more special than the 6 billion, the 6 out of 7 billion that believe in the Earth being around because it's flat, and we know. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to go one at a time, and we're going to find, I'm going to say GreaterSapien's going to be the knowledge guy. I'm going to say Blue Marble's going to be the young guy bringing it up. All of us, we're all just going to be the funny guys making people laugh and enjoy and look at us like comedians. Because if we make them laugh enough, if we make them laugh enough, we can slide in a little bit of information at a time, and we can start the process of bringing one over and then bringing one more over. And you know, as long as we keep it small enough, we can always maintain that we are special. We have this inside knowledge. They would lose if all of us decided to be flat earthers. They'd be goddamn. They'd all switch over and be globe earthers, because why? That's what makes them special at that point.
Yeah, and you'll hear from them.
I think that
go ahead, Blue Marble. Go ahead.
I think that flat earthers like D Marble because he always has that self-assured grin on his face.
He's a cool black guy, man.
Like he knows he's up to something. Like he's
I'm gonna
not hiding it either. He's just.
Well, if you go and you watch Delano TV, if you go and you watch his other non-flat Earth videos, it kind of, and then you go back and you watch his flat Earth videos, you kind of try to wonder, how serious is this guy? I mean, I honestly believe he believes, but I honestly also think that he is more of an entertainer than he is a flat earther. So he's going to go over the top in an effort to get you to see the same way I go over the top in my videos with calling people idiots. I don't think all flat earthers are really idiots. You know, I mean, some of them actually have some, at least it's not like, okay. We just talked about Mad Mike sending a rocket up, right? I give that dude respect. At least he's trying. You know, all the other flat earthers sitting behind a.
Mike is politician. That's the one that making politics with that.
Yeah. Well, when I go over the top in my videos, I do it for an entertainment purpose, because globe earthers who are thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, that these guys are idiots, they're just not in a position like I am to make it entertaining for the rest of the world. So I do. While they're wrong, they're fundamentally wrong, and I can prove it to them, whether we want to be funny about it or just scientific about it. I feel like the audience doesn't just want the scientific side of proving them wrong, just like Delano does. He wants to entertain you, because if he entertains you, you'll come back for more. If you're coming back for more, then you're hearing the message more and more.
There's definitely some of that, and in fact, this overlaps with other pseudoscience. Like if you look into the alkaline diet thing, and there's one that I used to refute on Facebook. He goes by the name of Yada, Yada. And if you look at the history of this guy, it's definite that he doesn't believe that the detox and eating or drinking alkaline water cures cancer. But by making these comments, he grew his followership, up to hundreds of thousands, and he makes money based on clicks. So, but
you got to sell those T-shirts, man.
Yeah, right.
Got to get your David Wolf merchandise.
Oh my God, your avocado! Oh my!
You went to David? Really?
Yeah. He's the ultimate woo peddler in my mind, because all these other guys are really good at proclaiming their woo science, but David Wolf is the voice behind that. If you really want your woo science to be pushed to the general public, go pay David Wolf whatever amount he's asking you to pay to say that your chocolate aligns with a star.
With the stars. The boars are trying to make their way back to space because that's where they're from.
Oh man, my assistant, I love my assistant, right? She's an amazing girl, and she's got a holistic medicine degree, and she's all about the meditation. And I tell her, I'm like, look, meditation is good for the soul. But we were talking about David Wolf, and I was showing her his video where he was talking about the frequency of chocolate. And I said, okay, I said, can you explain what he means to me there? And she was like, yeah, the way the chocolate's internal molecules align with the sun's internal molecule. And I was like, no, explain to me what the frequency of chocolate is. Like, how often does chocolate happen? Like for the normal person.
Exactly. Yeah,
how many times does chocolate happen per second?
Periodic cycle of chocolate with the frequency of chocolate.
And that's what they do. They use these words that you will recognize from school. And this goes to the flat earth too. Let's talk about
how called science.
Yes.
There's a word to receive all that kind of people. Charlatans.
Charlatans, exactly.
You can get people to believe almost anything if you put the word quantum in there somewhere.
I do it all the time.
I know,
but I'm right. But I know how to apply the word quantum properly. When other people try to use it like we'll say Jordan from Spirit Science. Anytime he uses the word quantum, don't fucking think that it means quantum science. Excuse me, I don't mean to let it fly on your channel. Don't think it means quantum sciences. It means I don't know what I'm talking about, but I want you to think I do. So I'm going to throw out a word like quantum.
Yeah, quantum. Yeah, pretty much anybody except for so far you. Skeptic. Anybody who just brings up quantum automatically goes into they don't know what they're talking about mode, as far as I'm concerned.
Quantum.
It's like, nope,
pretty much.
shut them down. Shut them down.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a PhD in physical physics. What?
You have a PhD in physics? Is that what
No,
you're
physical therapy.
And physical therapy.
It's close enough, right?
Physical education.
Right. There you go.
It's funny,
Well,
GreaterSapien.
there you go, physics.
Yesterday,
Phil's
GreaterSapien, I had a commenter say to me in one of my comments, he says, I bet you wouldn't let me get on that live discussion. I said, hey, man, look, the link isn't usually in the description. All you have to do is click it. I'm not like, I don't understand how I'm keeping you from clicking that link. And he's like, well, I'll go on there and debate you. I have a master's in physics or a master in engineering. And I was like, okay, well, which engineering degree do you have so I can match you with somebody that has a master's in that? Because I don't have a master's in that. So you're obviously going to be more educated than I am. But let me bring somebody on that also has that master's to debate your points. And what did I get after that? Silence. Silence. And even answer. We were back and forth 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like where we were going back and forth with each other with comments. And the moment I put that one out, it's been almost 23 hours now since I've received a comment back from him. Why is that? Because the moment
It's like when
when
someone tries to pick a fight with you. Oh yeah, man, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Then you're like, okay, let me get someone who matches your ability. They're like, nah, thanks, I'm good.
Yeah. Once you stand, as long as you're sitting down, they're willing to stand over you and talk smack. And then when you stand up, they're like, yo, man, it's cool. No, we're good.
Is everyone?
I like the video.
I'm sorry. Someone's asking a question. Is everyone?
Is everyone here except for me a content creator? I'm getting that sense.
Let's see.
I'm not really one, but more or less. I mean, I do make videos, but it's more like garbage stuff.
Just in case, real quick, if anybody happens to be in the chats over there, that's a flat earther that wants to come in. There's a lot of back and forth going on, but I don't know. I haven't been really tracking the chat room over here. But if there is somebody who happens to be in the chat that's a flat earther that wants to pop in, the link is in the description. Feel free to pop in anytime.
Oh, that would be awesome. Please.
Oh, yeah, Alexander, you don't know how awesome this could go if somebody does get in here.
I used to be a bit of a
Pissy
9/11 shooter.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Can I say something? I must go. Thank you for this opportunity. And flat earthers are very they don't want to discuss. They have the order from their gurus not to engage debates because they expose the fake of the movement. But if you try, someone will pop that believes in flat Earth truly, and we hope that some flat earther in any time can explain their model, because they even know how the flat Earth works. They can explain any natural phenomenon, meteorites, volcanism, earthquakes, a lot of things that they don't know. So if you bump into them, start asking them questions, and they will realize their model doesn't fit. So that's an advice. Thank you, GreaterSapien, for the opportunity, and
thank you very much.
Each other in the next time.
All right, keep up the fight.
Keep up the fight. Bye.
Yeah, what was he touched on something that reminded me. One thing that I found hilarious, and you probably noticed, is the tendency for flat earthers to not want to actually answer questions. I think that's one reason why I found my 11 questions video so hilarious, because in the first 3 minutes I said the main thing about flat earthers is that they don't want to answer questions, they just want to ask them. And then 90% of the responses I got were, well, what about this? Why can't you answer? And I'm like, you're not answering the question. I just said that you want to ask questions and not answer. And what are you doing? You're asking questions and not answering. It's like,
your 11 questions was brilliant. That was brilliant to start it off.
Some of them were kind of mean. I mean, I know some of them were little trick questions just to see how deep. I just wanted to see how deep they thought about their actual theory, because they don't think all these, as you can see from the Morgau video, they don't understand that all this stuff is kind of connected together. You can't just say this and then say that and not understand that affects this down here on the end. You can't do that. I mean, obviously they can. They're quite good at just ignoring the peripherals. But it's amazing. They have that tunnel vision that they have.
See, that's why I believe flat Earth should never be considered a science, or never should be considered anything, even if, let's say, they truly believe this. Okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're not all posed and that actually some of them do believe it. They are a religion. Yeah, for sure. Believe me, I've had face-to-faces with a few of them. I'm sorry?
I never seen a flat Earth in real life, only behind the computer on YouTube and whatnot.
Oh, I've seen them in real life. I've had interactions with them here face-to-face in Texas. But if you look at the way they do, in religion, when one religion poses a question, an unanswerable question to another religious person, that religious person never really tries to answer that question. They just try to re-ask a question that's even more unexplainable, because whoever has the most unexplainable answer wins in religion. Now, in science, that's not how it works. When there are no such thing as unanswerable questions. There are questions that are answered, and there are questions that need to be answered. There are things that have been explained and things that will or need to be explained. Flat Earth should stick to being a religious cult. They go out, when they're out talking about flat Earth, if you ever been around somebody, they don't talk about anything but flat Earth. That's why I say this, flat earthers get invited to Christmas 3 hours before the rest of the family does, because they want to get them in, give them their presents, have their lunch with them, and get them out before the rest of the family gets there.
No, but one thing I would add, though, is for a point of clarification, that science, I would be careful to say that science has answers, because even the answers in science are flexible. They're susceptible to revision when we get new information, right?
I think he means more like science is willing to present answers.
Right.
It's about the presentation of answers, not necessarily definitive.
Right.
Set of answers.
But I guess I'm saying a clarification to make the point that this is why I agree that in some senses flat eartherism reminds me of religion, in that they say these are our beliefs. And even if you give me more information, I don't care. This is the answer. So I must find a way to ignore or to discredit this new information, this new data. And I speak as someone who was a Christian for the first 30 years of my life. So I understand that mentality where you have your conclusion, and whatever data comes in, you have to find a way to make it fit your conclusion. So in that way, it does remind me of religion.
Let me give you two examples of how this how religion has crossed into, or I guess it's one example of how religion and science cross with each other with certain individuals. Jason Lyle, I believe his name's Jason Lyle. He's a physicist, and he's also a young Earth creationist. So he has to explain certain things that he sees in reality as how to explain those with young Earth when we can fully explain them on a globe old universe. He wants to explain on a young Earth, but he also understands enough of science to say, well, gosh, I can't go the whole ancient religion route, because I have this information that I've been taught for 10 years. Right. So what he's an
astrophysicist too. He's not just right.
Yes, he's an astrophysicist. Exactly.
I know the guy.
No, he's not theoretical at all. Complete astrophysicist. He does submit theoretical theorems he does submit those, but he's very smart. He'll pose his theories in a way that they can't be disproved. Okay, and so that's how he ties in religion with science is that he knows enough of science to be able to put forth a theory that with the modern understanding would never be able to disprove.
So the things that are not even wrong.
Newton was a Christian. That's all we had to say.
Yeah,
Newton was a Christian.
So
you can be both.
Yeah, so that's where the original idea started out with when you said something about that. So Newton's theories, this is a big flat earth thing. Flat earthers will say, well, how could Newton be right if we corrected him? Well, we didn't correct him, we built off of him.
Yeah,
Newton
we find him.
Yeah, it does not mean, it means that we have a better way of explaining more accurately what we see than the way Newton did. It doesn't mean Newton was wrong. The idea Newton had is that both objects are attracting to each other, which we have found to be true. So that's when general relativity came along and said, well, let's take Newton's ideas and let's give it a more accurate definition.
So this was the brilliance of the video that we were talking about, the 11 questions, is that you said that if you have another theory, it has to explain the phenomena better than the current theory. So when we moved on from F equals ma, well, F still equals ma at low velocities, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's only at high velocities that we start to need to refine those equations. So the Einstein explained the phenomenon better in certain domains. So
we're not going to go around, adding velocities with this, complex equation when it's just 30 miles an hour being added to another 30 miles an hour. Oh, okay. Well, then okay. So it's, it's technically it's 59.999999527 miles an hour. No, we're not going to do that.
We just rounded it up because it's just pointless to use a precise measurement if you don't use it for something.
Yeah, someone commented the other day about how is it possible for more than one model to be right, about an answer. If this model can explain this and this model can explain it, how can they both be right? Or are they, as opposed to understanding that, you can be correct but not complete. It's like it's in this circumstance, it holds, but it's not the whole picture. And there's just this idea that, you can get, a flat Earth can explain in its own little way the way that the sun moves for that one instance.
Right.
But it doesn't explain it in all these others. So, you can use a flat map to get you across town. Just assume everything's flat. And you got a map that can get you across town and it can get you up and down the state. That's perfectly fine. But if you really want to build something that's going to be really big, then you need something that's a little more precise. And this all or nothing kind of thing, it's just indicative of their lack of critical thinking skills.
Yep,
absolutely.
There's a comment I got from some time ago. The flat earthers saying that objects from a distance should be leaning outward, and I just calculated, and the curve is like 1 degree per 111 kilometers. That's so little. The object is already behind the horizon. You cannot see it.
Yeah, and unless you have like a building that's so perfectly built, like it's a perfect rectangle that you can measure the angles super well, and then you can get it far enough away that you can see it. It's like if you're looking at a mountain and it's big enough that you can see it beyond the top of it beyond the horizon. It's an irregular shape. How can you tell if it's tapered? How can you tell if it's at an angle? It's not that. Real things don't have precise measurement. So it's like, okay, I'm going to make this big 2001: A Space Odyssey obelisk that's going to be, it's going to be, 10,000 feet tall, and I'm going to stick it out there, and it's perfectly laser measured. And now we're going to be able to go back and we're going to be able to check that angle. It just doesn't work that way. The real world is not. It doesn't have that kind of perfection and precision.
And hey, GreaterSapien, I'd like to address Alexander also on another thing. I think his name was Alex. Yeah, Alexander.
Alex is fine.
Alex, yeah. Hey, Alex, I want to tell you something. You said something earlier about all of us being content creators except for you. If you ever think about doing it, man, you really should. I just started my channel 3 months ago. It's doing really well. I never thought that anybody would even care what the fuck I had to say. So if you think you have something good to say, man, put yourself in a position where you're unique, find your own style, and put some videos out, man. I'd love to see something. You sound like an intelligent individual, and you have something to say, so you should be out there. There's a lot of people who have nothing to say that are really popular.
No, there are a lot of people that I see in my comment threads, and I'm like, dude, you need to be making something, because you're obviously, the length of time you spend in a comment thread, you could have made a video, and a whole bunch of people could see that. And more people can see it than see it on this.
I do spend a lot of time in both YouTube comments and in blog comments, just because I think the written form fits my time constraints a little bit better right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that is why I asked that question. So I thank you for the encouragement to maybe start making some video content. Like I said, I was a Christian for decades, and I used to tithe and all that good stuff. So when I moved out of that, I thought, what can I do to, I guess, add into the critical thinking collective? And one of the things I started doing is I started tithing through Patreon to YouTube content creators that I appreciate.
Tithing, I like tithing.
Yeah, right. It's another so it's another way to look at it. But contributing that way. But I think I really love what you guys do, and I think education is the key. And I think YouTube is a great medium for doing it and reaching a lot of people. So thank you for the encouragement. I think I will consider it.
Can I just say something?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Blue.
So I think I first started making videos when I saw that the Marvel's flight level experiment, and I just kept watching like his videos and a bunch of other videos because I really love science. And when someone comes up and says something so damn stupid, I just get so annoyed, and I just had to make a video about it, and then here I am, I guess.
Yeah, well, like for me, I think that might have been my introduction to Marvel as well, and I try my best not to be an asshole about things, and so I literally went to him and said, "Oh, by the way, the reason it didn't work is because of this." I was just like, "Hey, it's like I'm not trying to shit on you or anything, but just so you know, it wouldn't work even if you wanted it to, because this is how it goes." And he immediately just shit on me. He was just like he was just started just talking smack to me. I'm like, "Oh, that's how we're playing it." Yeah, I'm just coming to you as a conversation. I don't like seeing people make these kind of errors. I just, it's just like, hey, did you know that doesn't really work? So I just thought I'd just throw this out to you, and so you can take a look at it. I'm not like trying to, go at you. And then you come at me hard about something like, oh, okay, we're playing that game.
It's the ego, my brother. The ego. When you have a strong ego, there is nothing you can do about this. You try to be friendly with somebody, try to explain, hey, my man, this is the way it goes. But the ego is so strong, you don't want to hear anything. So
yeah, it's like I made a mistake the other day. Because every so often, just because of how the algorithm works, it posted a recommendation for a D-Marble video to me. It's like, and it was his about how Hillary used Allison Mack's people to have child prostitutes or something like that. There's that whole thing with that. Yeah, the whole cult that Allison Mack, the actress from Smallville, how she's under indictment for this human trafficking.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah.
Right, which is crazy on itself. But it was a video. It's talking about how it's been tied to Clinton and how she was, shipping children or something like that. And so I just looked at it and I saw the link that he had put to it, the article that he was getting his information from, and the article had a headline that accused the Clintons of something, but inside the rest of it mentioned nothing about it. It just had a headline, right? Just said, it was. And so I just said, hey, by the way, I literally just said, hey, by the way, that link you gave doesn't actually have any connection to the headline. It's just, it's just the headline itself, and there's no content in there that even mentions what you're talking about. Just, so if you got that information from somewhere else, you might want to just, put that up. But just so you know, this article isn't saying what it's telling you it's saying. And he just, I was just like, that's just a heads up, don't want you making that kind of mistake. And he came at me hard. Well, Homo sapien, blah blah blah, and all those people start coming. I'm like, all I'm saying is read the article. The article doesn't say what it's saying. Can't you just do that? I'm just trying to help you out. I'm just trying to help you out.
A lot of people does that too with like climate change and vaccines and whatnot. It's pretty annoying.
Yeah, and for me, it's sometimes it's not about the claim itself. It's about whether or not it's supported. You know, it's like,
why do you believe it?
Yeah, if you're going to make this claim,
right,
just support it. And sometimes I agree with people, and I'll say, but you know what? I kind of agree with you, but that article doesn't say what we want it to say. It doesn't. So find a different reference. That one's no good. You know, it's like when a flat earther tries to reference some scientist to support flat Earth, but that scientist is not a flat earther. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you can say that all you want, but you can't use them because if you just were to ask them, they would say no. They all the rest of the body of their work is against a flat Earth. So you might have this crossover that you like, that you think supports you, but you don't use them as a reference. Don't find someone else because they don't support you.
A good example of that is the world sight distance record being 400 kilometers, I believe.
Yeah,
and they reference.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I use that in my Morgow video. It's like that. If you go to their website, they talk about how they had to calculate things based on refraction and the way the curvature there.
And not just that, but they were like in there, they were just praising the refractive indexes. They were like, oh my God, we could not believe that we were even able to catch this mountain in the back. They were like, we didn't even mean to shoot that. We didn't even know we had that mountain back there until after we developed the photos. And we realized that the refractive index was so conducive to this maximum refraction that we were actually able to capture something that we should have never been able to see. And then flat earthers go, yep, flat earth, told you. And you're like, wait, on a regular day, though, we don't see the mountain. Why is that? You know, why? If it's because it's a flat earth, then it shouldn't just be able to be seen that day. It should be able to see the next day and the day following and the day after that.
Right. It's like all the, you can see Chicago skyline from Detroit or wherever they say that you can see it. But it's like these, the mirages that happen. And it's like, well, but are you seeing it today? Did you see it yesterday? Are you
put a time lapse camera on it?
It's like, no, you're not. It's rare. It's rare enough that they make it a news event. By the way, this is happening today. Because it's under unique situations where you can see these things, and that world record thing. Even on the website, they have like pictures of like a globe and refractive lines and stuff. It's
not just they have so much interactive. That website is so amazing to go to. They've done such a great job of being able to give the layman the ability to see how they were able to make this. They have this interactive map where it can show you exactly how high they were in elevation. That's the other thing.
With all the different peaks and everything there.
Yeah, with all exactly that white and blackish blue map or whatever. But it was just like all the information is there. They even say we don't even know what the height is. You shouldn't. It should be hidden by 26,000 or 60,000 feet of curvature. And you're like, but did you not see that they're 2,200 meters up in the air? They're not taking this from the water level. They're doing this from the peak of another mountain. Like it's an entire. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Blue.
The problem is that most times they don't even take into consideration other things such as atmospheric refraction.
Oh yeah, they do. When it helps them, they love atmospheric refraction. They turn on and off the properties of light in physics. Whenever it's just like this mismatch. They love refraction. They just love it when it's in their refraction, magnetism, buoyancy. They love it when it works for them. But you're right. When
they don't, when it doesn't.
Yeah, they have a pretty hard time with me when they try to explain how a sunset is possible in the flat Earth. Especially when you point out there's a point on Earth, it's called the subsolar point, where the sun is always above you.
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking through some of the chats.
They just think that the sun goes so far away that you can't see it.
Yeah,
the
but if
problem
you go
is
so far
that
away, you cannot be
you,
above the
you
earth.
can't you can't like not see something that's that far away, because if say the Orion Nebula, you can't see it in the sky because not enough light is coming from it to you. Not some of the light doesn't even reach us, but you can't see it anyway. That doesn't mean
But yeah,
that you won't be able to see it. It's just that you can't.
yeah,
So
yeah, and then
there
of
is
course
no limit to the human vision.
the stars that are embedded in the firmament are completely still visible, even though they're even farther away. You know, whatever.
Exactly. I've posted the Google Doc again in the group chat in Google Hangout.
Okay, cool.
The people who joined a while ago can see it.
Looks like we have a Maximilian in here.
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey,
you
what's
can.
up?
Hey guys. I came on because I've been following kind of the religious discussions in America for a couple of years, and personally I'm from Sweden, raised in Stockholm, but I was raised Catholic, which is kind of unusual in Sweden nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my parents come from a background in Opus Dei, which is kind of the hardcore, hardcore Catholic.
Very hardcore.
Yeah. So I've always been interested in religion and, from my point of view, criticizing religion. And all my friends living in Sweden or growing up in Sweden never really understood why I even care about religion, because it's like it's not even a question living here.
Right.
Max, may I ask you a cultural question real quick?
Yeah.
What is the okay? You just kind of touched on it. If it's not predominantly Catholic anymore, is it predominantly atheist, agnostic, or is there another religion that has moved in to dominate Sweden?
Well, since pretty much the Protestants came about, Sweden has been a Protestant nation statewise. So, for example, we have the Church of, or the Swedish Church of the nation.
National church.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, there's almost everyone doesn't even have a religious don't
belief.
even have a but not even a relationship with any like religious.
So it's not really part of their personal lifestyle and things like that. Yeah.
Are they non-denominational or atheistic?
If you really asked most people, I think they would say that they are atheists, but it's so far from their like life that
it's not even on their radar. It's just not part of their thing. Yeah.
But so my question to you guys are, how is the climate today in the US? Has it like
it's beautiful.
Has it changed? Has it changed for?
Well, it's summer in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, but has it changed for the better, or
spring is coming?
You're thinking in terms of religion and its influence on politics and things like that. Well, you know, it's odd, and anyone feel free to chime in on here. I think we kind of go through these cycles. I think I have a sense that there's a change coming. There's a cultural shift happening, but the way I describe it is like if you have a membrane, like a balloon, and you're squeezing that sucker, and the closer and closer you get to the point of it popping, the harder it gets to push that thing. And so what happens is we're, or at least it seems to me, in America, as we get closer and closer to kind of this transition to where religious tolerance is back, and we're kind of like more unified as a nation, and we don't care about these things, the harder it is. And then there's this pushback, and then we kind of reset. And then all of a sudden it's like this kind of religious intolerance kind of pops up again, and then then we start that battle again until it gets closer and closer, and then it's getting harder and harder because people are that threshold of change is hard and it's scary, and people feel that change coming, and even if it isn't going to affect them that much, it's still it's a change that they're not used to, and they resist it, and so they start to they go back to the church, and they go so religious intolerance kicks in again. So where we are right now, I'm not exactly sure, but it seemed for a while there we were heading toward a transition, and the resistance is building, because I think my optimistic point of view is we're getting close to that tipping point, but the resistance is increasing because.
Can I make a quick comparison?
Yeah.
First of all, I agree with what you just said right now, and I think if I make a comparison, I would compare what you just said to the movie The Matrix. It's like religion is the Matrix. We're all sleeping, more or less, and we believe in the system until one day somebody is asking question himself, what's going on? It doesn't feel right. And then you ask question and again, and then you wake up out of the Matrix, and the reality strikes you. And then you start to talk to other people, try to make them see what you see. And then they start to question themselves, and so on and so on. So that's the reason why I may compare what you just said to the Matrix to the movie. To me, it's one of the comparisons I may say.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could chime in,
please,
because I'm very familiar with this topic. Again, having grown up in the church, what I can tell you, first of all, in Sweden, it's one of the most irreligious countries in the world right now. And if you look at it, it's a happy place. It's a peaceful place. All the things people say is impossible without religion. In America, I agree with that analogy about the balloons so much. But if you look at the trends, 60% of millennials who've been raised in the church are now leaving. 60%. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a major change. There's a major shift going on in America. But just as GreaterSapien said, it's like a balloon with pressure that's about to pop. And if you think about the analogy I was thinking about is the civil rights movement, where people were marching in the streets and they were sending dogs out on people and spraying hoses on them for things that we would take for granted. For me to be able to go and sit down and have lunch at the same place as my friends or my wife, or for me to ride in a seat on the bus that's not at the back. Right. People were being attacked by dogs over that as the change occurred, just like you said, a balloon about to pop. But JB, you said something that really kind of piqued my interest with The Matrix. If we all remember The Matrix, they didn't like to wake people up who had been in The Matrix too long. And I think there's some of that going on where people who have been in the religious matrix too long. Even for me, as I think about my mother, God forbid, see, I still do it.
Yeah. It's part of the lexicon.
I say God bless you to everybody. So.
Right. But I hope she doesn't listen to this, because in a way, it breaks my heart to think about waking her up from the matrix. Mm. So I think people who've been in the matrix for 20 or 30 years of religion, it's hard to wake them up. They resist everything about their psychology, resist the urge to wake up and say, oh my goodness, this thing I've been doing all my entire life has been, in some sense, a waste. Mm-hmm. Not a complete waste, just but in some sense a waste.
Yeah, but that's why I've literally never tried to convince someone to not be religious. Because if it's working for them, let it work for them. What I've done is, when they've tried to take upon the mantle of science and try to tell me that I need to believe what they believe, then I've explained to them why I don't, and we've had that discussion. But never at one point have I said, and you should stop believing, because it doesn't really affect me if they believe, until they decide, oh, we're going to write a law that says this, and then I'm like, all right, we need to stop.
And that's it, GreaterSapien. Like you're saying with the flat Earth, if you believe this, it affects all of these. Like, if you believe in the flat Earth, where is Mercury? It affects those things. Yeah. If you believe that a certain book is the word, is the truth, from an omnipotent being, and that book says, you know what, homosexuals should be executed, you're more likely to believe that.
Yes, and that's my problem with religion, and
it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I'll tell
that's
you.
true. Yeah,
I'll tell you in a heartbeat that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying I do have that. If the religious view is that's when I say if they're contributing positively to society and this and that, I have no problem with. But when the religion causes them to start wanting to subjugate their fellow man, to take away the rights of the fellow man, they've crossed the line. Then it's beyond just it works for you,
right?
Because obviously you're trying to make it not work for other people. Same with flat earth. It's like I wouldn't have much of a problem with flat earth if there wasn't also this like, oh, you believe in flat earth and it's a conspiracy of the Jews. Okay.
Those are my favorite arguments.
Couldn't it just be like, I think the science is wrong and I think it's flat earth, but then they have to go down to this, this conspiracy and this and subjugating, and then the chemtrails and this and okay. All right.
I guess it would have to be, though. You're right. I guess it would have to be a conspiracy. So you're right.
Yeah. It's if it was just, I think the science is wrong, it'd be one thing. But they take it that next level of it's just a conspiracy of people who are trying to subjugate us. We're all enslaved. Eventually, they're going to tag us all, and they're going to try to put us in camps. They just keep going. It's like, oh.
So can we ask Maximilian a question?
Yes, and also we have someone named Reason. We have someone named Reason Vision is in here too.
Okay.
But yeah,
Maximilian, can you tell us how do we look to you? Do we look crazy to you in America?
In some ways, yeah, of course.
Hey, you guys, can you guys talk amongst yourselves for a minute?
Yeah.
I've been at this for 2 and something hours. I need to hit the bathroom.
You are allowed.
Talk amongst yourselves.
All right.
But yeah, I think that most stuff in the US seems crazy from the outside. But
agreed.
The thing that the reason why I asked the question I did in the beginning is that it looks like, at least when you talk about religion, that it's starting to, it's not as crazy as it was a couple of years ago. At least to me, it looks like that to me.
Yeah, so I think you're getting an image of that poll that I was saying, where the younger generation, it is certainly shifting.
Yeah.
So hopefully that means within the next 10, 20 years, we'll start to see a major difference. But in other ways, we are certainly still crazy. I just was wondering if it actually was visible.
Now, I want to ask the other Americans here a question, because I'm sure this is, from an outside point of view, it kind of can look like we're kind of contradictory in our religion and freedom of religion and all this and that, because we have a constitutional amendment that says that we're not, we separate church and state, and then we turn around and we give the church tax breaks. Now, my question is what would you think would happen to the religions if they removed the tax breaks? Would you find it that more preachers, there'd be less preachers because they no longer get tax breaks and they actually have to work for their money and pay taxes at that point? Would they go out and find more profitable jobs, or would they continue to be preachers just making less money?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I think that's a big part of why religion is the way it is in the US. I mean, you can't earn in no other country, or at least in Western countries, you can't earn as much as you can being a preacher as you can in the US. I mean, it's insane how much you can earn on just being a preacher or a church leader in the US compared to, for example, take any European country. I mean,
and Max, it's so early on. If I had no scruples, I would have been a preacher or a preacher. Made a lot.
So again, you guys are all over my wheelhouse. This is why I left the faith. I was studying to become, and you hear the story so often, but I was studying to become a pastor, and I had scruples. I wanted to know, is what I'm going to be teaching true? Do I have justified reason to believe it's true? And someone who has scruples and who does that analysis is going to come to the conclusion, no, these beliefs are not supportable by the facts. But if you don't have scruples, you turn into Creflo Dollar. And I don't know how many people know who he is, but it is big business in America.
Awesome name, though, Creflo
Yeah,
Dollar.
it's what a great name, right? I'm a little envious of the name.
Wish my mom was cool enough to name me that.
Right. But the question was, would this go away if the tax incentives were removed? And I would say it would certainly be accelerated. And there are organizations out there. There are organizations out there that are for pastors and preachers who are losing the faith, if you will, and it's to support them because a lot of people who are in the pulpit have lost the faith, but they're still there because it pays the bills. And part of the reasons it does that so well is because of the tax breaks. So,
yeah.
Hey,
I think it would go overnight fanatical. Personally,
that would happen too. You're right.
I mean, and not just, like where we would talk across all the boards. Because if this was like 50 years ago, probably wouldn't be the same effect. The fanatical uprising probably wouldn't be as strong. But if we're talking in today's specific day and age, and we're all talking about flat earthers here, I would dare say that most flat earthers fall within that extreme religious category.
Most.
I don't think I've met an atheist who's a flat earther. Or heard of one.
Hey, that online poll that they were talking about so much about how this new generation, like 4% of young millennials are now for flat earthers or whatever. The crux of that poll was the fact that most flat earthers are wildly religious. They ignore that part about that whole poll. The poll was about how religious flat earthers are.
Oh yeah, and most of them are of some kind of Judeo-Christian background. It's not much beyond that. Beyond that, it's just the Freemasons who are teaching flat Earth.
But I thought it was the Freemasons who were teaching the globe and stuff. Yeah.
Oh no, they genuinely do teach that the world is a plane and that it's flat based on the Bible verse of the four corners of the earth. But that doesn't make sense to me. Is it a round flat earth or is it a square flat earth? Because a round flat earth,
but someone needs to talk to the flat earthers who constantly come to me and tell me that the globe is a plot of the Freemasons. Then,
yeah. NASA's all full of Freemasons.
Well, I mean, that is true, but for the most part, your average Blue Lodger is just a guy who's in a drinking club with other
right. I have some in-laws who
ride motorcycles.
I have some in-laws who are members of like the Odd Fellows or something, mainly because it allows their band to use the rec room.
Yeah, I mean it's not as intense as like, oh, the Rotary Club all sacrifice children. It's not that ridiculous.
But in order to use it, they had to become members. Like, hey, it's got good acoustics in here.
Now I won't deny that there are secret groups who have worked underneath the guise of Freemasonry, but there are secret societies over the past 600 years that I've tracked alone. But they're little tiny self-ascribed clandestine groups who can blame other people for it.
Right.
You gotta love.
They take on the moniker of victim.
You gotta love how the moment. Let's say you win the ultimate lottery and you win $4 billion. Okay, guess what you have just entered into? The secret club of 4 billionaires. Like you are now a part of an elite secret society because you have $4 billion. You're now part of the rich. You're now part of the society. And that's a lot of conspiracy theorists. That's what they do. They just say, oh, well, all these rich people, the rich are the elite. They're the elite because they have 1% of the money, not because they all agree on something, because they all individually own this amount of the total world income. But
that and money doesn't actually buy you into the elites. There's technically two different elite statuses if we wanted to get technical. There's the ones who are related through blood to royalty.
Oh, money.
And then there's the people who have just been financed or good with money on it.
Yeah.
Like the Council of 300 is a group above the Trilateral Commission that control almost everything that goes through the Trilateral Commission. But the Council of 300 is all the nobles and royalty of Europe.
Right. Now, see, the old money versus new money is something a 1%er would understand, but the typical 99% of us that are not elite, we just throw them in the same bin and say those guys are together, even though they're not really together when you look within that group. They are together from our point of view because, and that's why I say, you know, flat earthers, that's what they do. They say, oh, you got a degree in physics? Oh, okay. So the government, at what point in your education did the government come to you and say, hey, man, you want to further your education? You just got to sign this paper saying you'll lie forever, and we'll let you finish your education.
I had a thought about
I don't know if it's true or not, but I've seen something about like if you gain like $40,000 a year and you have absolutely no debt, you're like part of the 10% richest person in the world, something like that.
Yes,
I mean, in theory, if you factor in how much overall debt the United States owes compared to each individual citizen, like we'll each be paying off over the next 25 million years.
Like 5 million years.
Oh yeah, because it's a negative it's a positive feedback loop when we take money out to pay money we owe. You know, like we have to borrow money from the Federal Reserve to pay money back that we owe to the Federal Reserve.
Because and the military-industrial complex is losing trillions of dollars faster than we could ever make it.
God, one of my favorite videos to watch, conspiracy-wise. I mean, I'm not a big conspiratard or nothing, but conspiracy-wise is watching Donald Rumsfeld admit to losing like $2.3 trillion. And then the next day, guess what happened? The Pentagon gets hit with a plane. The very next day.
And
we lost somebody.
I got back in.
Okay,
the spot that the plane or object hit the Pentagon was the exact area where the 27 people who were investigating that 2.3 trillion
the accounting department.
Yeah, the accounting department was the only place that encountered any casualties, and they all died in there, and no one has further investigated that.
And not since that day has anyone ever questioned Donald Rumsfeld, and he blatantly admits it to Congress. Oh, well, we lost 2.3 trillion. Sorry, we just have no idea where it's at.
That wasn't the first time. In 2015, they admitted to 6.5 trillion lost, and in 2016 they estimated up to 10. There's a recent Watchdog report that said between I think it was 1998 and current they've lost $21 trillion.
Now, I don't know if there's flat earthers out there that are listening to this. I want you guys to hear this and use just a little bit of critical thinking, because I believe you guys were born and blessed with it, okay? We're talking about trillions of dollars. You guys think the conspiracy is behind billions of dollars.
Well, yeah.
We're talking about
$54 billion. Is that what it is?
Yeah, somewhere around that. 50. Let's just give them $100 billion. We're gonna give flat earthers. We're gonna say we're stealing $100 billion from you. That's nothing. That is nothing. Yeah. We're talking about $20 trillion. Okay, that's 100 billion is not even 1% of that. I don't believe.
How much money worldwide is being not used for taxes because they are in offshore accounts and whatnot? I believe it's $1 trillion too.
One thing,
who's that?
I might not be the strongest person when it comes to like scientific refuting of flat earthers. I do my best, but my area is in history, and in my research of history, the line that flat earthers use that ancient civilizations believed in the flat Earth, I genuinely actually think is a false statement now. The Egyptians and the Greeks by 200 BC both knew that the Earth was round, but ancient Egyptians and their understanding of the orbits of the sun and the different planets doesn't lead me to believe anywhere that they said it was flat. The only one reference you could find is they said that the entire planet was actually a huge square shape, like a 3D square. Not that it was a flat plane. The Greeks didn't believe that it was flat. I don't find anywhere except in the last 140 years that people have been preaching this flat Earth ever since the Great American Revival and all of those things.
So who was that was just speaking?
I was.
Three-edged sword. Three-edged sword.
Okay, so I think I semi-snarkily replied to you on this. So let me apologize if I was a little snarky, but I think you posted a comment, and I posted a reply with some links in it there is no doubt, at least from what I've seen, that ancient civilizations believed in flat Earth. And by ancient, I mean going back, 1,500 years, 2,000 years. And if you stop and think about it, it makes sense that, because we were talking about this earlier, at a local level, if you're traveling from here to 20 miles away, it appears you can do that with a flat Earth model, no problem.
But which specific culture 1,500 years ago? Even Galileo, when he battled against the church, was fighting the geocentric model, which isn't flat
Right.
Earth. It's
It's
that everything revolves around the Earth.
So let me
there
be
was
clear.
still around an
Let me
orbit.
be clear that there was a flat Earth cosmology in the Middle East, in Egyptian societies, going back 1,500 years. And then that model, by the time the Bible was written, there were many Greek thinkers, there were many thinkers who had already understood, and many thinkers in the Middle East and in Africa who had understood that the Earth was, in fact, round. They had done calculations and had gotten pretty good estimates. So what happened is it was an original theory or an early theory. Then many thinkers knew that it was a false theory. So that part, you're right. There was a period where many people did not believe in it, and then it became popular again. So I'm just cautioning you: research the ancient civilizations.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is true that many of them did believe.
Well, I will promise to do some more research into it. But from the Olmecs to the Phoenicians to the Hittites, to the different Aryan civilization in India, to the Indus Valley civilization, Mayans, Aztecs. I don't find anything in Proto-Sumerian or Sumerian cultures, or even ancient Akkadian cultures, that refers to the flat Earth. So in all the different civilizations, even up to the meteor strike in Great Britain in 560 AD, I don't find much of this flat Earth. Even the main image that they show, the main painting that they show of like the firmament and the person lifting up the veil and looking out and sees the stars. It's one of the most famous things that flat earthers like to put out there, is a painting of it, which didn't come into existence until like 1870.
So if you're
the painting's only like 140 years old, and it's their favorite painting.
If you're correct, I think you're going to have a spectacular book, is what I'll say.
I gotta go.
Who's speaking?
Max. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for.
Thank you very much, Max.
I love you guys. I love watching your videos and what you do on YouTube. But have a good day, guys.
All right, take care.
Hey, have a nice day too.
Hey, can I ask Three-Edged Sword just a quick question? Three-Edged Sword, how familiar are you with the coffin text of ancient Egypt?
The coffin text, off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. The Palermo stone, the Turin canon, the Thule papyrus are the three main ones that I know of.
Well, on the coffin text, they refer to a flat Earth, but they don't refer to it in the same sense that flat earthers refer to it. It's kind of like what Alex was saying. It was more of a localized view, because they envisioned the sun going away for 12 hours. So they acknowledged that the sun was unseeable for 12 hours, and they didn't attribute it to getting so far away they couldn't see it. They acknowledged that it went over the side of their planar vision, which all of us see the world in 2 dimensions. I mean, we see in 3, but we see the ground in 2 dimensions. It just looks flat to us because we're so small. So they actually put that down because they didn't know yet, but they also understood the concept of the sun going away. So where'd the sun go? Oh, it went to light hell, and that was their original idea, is that they knew that it was not, they knew it was a 3-dimensional shape. They knew that there was a top and then there was a bottom, because they acknowledged that the sun would go underneath them to light hell for 12 hours before it came back to light the world, which all they knew was ancient Egypt,
And to a fair degree, I have to give you that point, because there is that side of that, some of the religious cults of ancient Egypt that may have seen it that way. But on the other side, to try and counter that, would be all the mystic and mathematical cults that were born in Egypt that were transferred to Greece, where we get all the philosophical schools, Aristotle, Plato. They all received all their mystic training in Egypt. Their own accounts of it.
And you quote those dates from there. Quote those dates real quick. That you would say those guys, when that translation occurred into the Greek, would you say it was about 200 or 200 AD? I mean, is that what you said earlier?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. I lost it.
When you just now you mentioned a translation of the ancient the mystics that not necessarily the religious mystics. Let's say the mystics that were calculating the Earth before the Earth was acknowledged to be even round.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so
that would be post Jesus, right?
Post Jesus or the post so-called Jesus, whenever the
right.
I'm
acknowledging 0 AD.
Eratosthenes, it would be one of the first accounts of the sphere Earth being measured, which is around 200 BC. I think it's like 202 or something like that.
Right.
The Greek mystic schools were from 600 to 400 BC. It was right about the time before Alexander the Great, but some of those philosophers accompanied Herodotus. Xenophon was one of the greatest of the historians. The Septuagint itself was translated by the Ptolemaic dynasty, which broke off when Alexander the Great died. And it was the Greeks who decided to translate the oral tradition of the Hebrews into Greek, and then all of a sudden we get all of these specific teachings of it. But the Egyptian mystery cults go back way past 1500 BC, because at 1500 BC was the collapse of the entire Bronze Age civilization. The Hittite Empire fell, the Dorian Empire, the fall of Jericho, the Sinai Peninsula. There were meteorite strikes throughout that time. It was basically the end of the world for all these people. And after that whole situation of 1500 BC, all the different nations realized that their gods had abandoned them in one way or another. It was like kind of like the birth of modern day atheism might be drawn back to the cataclysm that brought the Bronze Age world to its knees.
So I think you have some really interesting points, and I think you and I are actually in more agreement than I first realized on the history of this. I just think that if you say that people did not have a flat Earth cosmology 1600 years ago, or if you say that the flat Earth cosmology did not come into existence until 140 years ago, I just think that claim is a little bit further than you can justify. I think that the flat Earth cosmology
it takes me a bit
existed.
to really get into it, but it's a very bold statement, and I'll give you that much. It is a very bold statement to say, but in my personal reading, I haven't found as much in the deeper belief systems of all of these cultures that implies that they believed in the flat Earth or whatnot. If they were believing in any kind of existence of anything, it was that they were pawns of a great pantheon of gods, and black blood sacrifices were involved, and confusion and migrations and starvation. So
either way, I think
my idea of the bold statement about it being about 140 years old goes into my opinion that the whole flat Earth thing has been turned into a giant psyop of some kind. Whatever effect the truth movement can have is almost undercut immediately the moment a flat earther steps in. Because your average person who's starting to free thinking is being like, ooh, this might be interesting. Oh, wait, flat earthers are here. I'm bouncing.
Okay, real quick change. I noticed there's a Kenji in the room they haven't heard from.
Hey, how you doing? My view on this is that don't you have to worry about the educated versus uneducated, because overall in the past societies, the uneducated dominated the population, but because they didn't know any better, because thought can only travel as fast as communication. And with the communications that they had, they were very short and limited.
Oh no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's always, it's not the right way of saying it, but it's just the simplest way. There's always kind of more of them than there are of us, in terms of the educated versus the uneducated. And the fact is, bad information, spreads really, really quickly. It's access of the internet is an awesome tool. It's a great thing, but fiction spreads just as quickly as fact.
What I'm talking about is more of this ancient civilization. We see all this information because it's recorded, but that's the information that we see from about the past isn't the most popular idea that they had in the past. This is just what's recorded.
True.
Most of the people were uneducated. They couldn't. So most of the population and civilization probably believed in the flat Earth. Just that there's a select few that were able to record what they believe. So you can't really say that the past civilization, oh, they believe in round Earth. Just,
and honestly, the past civilizations, most people probably just had their head down and were just getting their life over with. You know, they're just doing their thing.
And so
it might be a more accurate statement to say that in the inner, higher, more educated circles where they still had the remnants of the ancient civilizations that they knew it was round.
Yeah.
But the general majority of like the religious mob sheeple just plain Gears group that they could have believed in flat Earth. Because if they believe in flat Earth today, it's not. I can't say that they didn't believe it back then. It's ridiculous that they believe in it for fucking today.
Yeah. So I'd like to touch on that, Kenji. So most knowledge.
Hey, I gotta go, guys. You've all been awesome. If you do another live stream like this again, I'll bring my history project with me. I've got 40 pages of human history that I can go through.
That sounds like a good.
I'd
good
love
plan.
to share it with y'all because you can take it wherever every cult, every war, every secret society. I've done too much reading. I hate it. Anyways.
Now,
All right.
Anyways, you guys are
but real quick before you go though, and this is one thing I like about this is that everyone's coming at this from a different angle. You know, there's so many different facets of this conversation that can be had, and I don't know if you're putting out any content other than just having discussions and comment threads.
I am composing my first documentary right now. It's in the work.
But I think we need to have that type of thing. Just, where Alexander's coming from. He's coming from a different point of view, but it's all they're all kind of focused on the same thing. And some people who won't get where I'm coming from or get where Father Skeptic is coming from will find an entry point with Alexander, or they'll find an entry point with you, Free Edge. And so I think what is going? Oh, he's getting in his car. What the hell?
Car, sorry. I gotta go get my girlfriend from work.
All right, man. Take care.
So
thank you all so much. Stay safe, everybody.
Right,
have a good day, sir.
See you.
I think I might go too. I'll come back when the topic changes.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to be maybe another half hour because it is Mother's Day. And
Hey,
all that kind of thing.
Blue Marble. I'll be live streaming later this evening, man. You're more than welcome to jump on my stream. Okay.
How do I get your channels?
I'm team under my thing. Okay, so let me clear just a few things up. I'm call myself Team Skeptic because it's not me. It's me and all of my people. I make mistakes all the time. You guys correct me. Thank you very much. We're a team. We're a team of skeptics. We're a team. Personally, I identify as Father Skeptic. I guess I'll go ahead and say I identify as a cis white male atheist. No,
go down the whole chain.
No, I call myself Father Skeptic because I do bring my son on. He's Kid Skeptic, who might be on my stream later.
Cool.
Yeah, he's going to be he just turned 18, and as a birthday present, I'm bringing him on the stream to do his answering 36 questions about men since he just became a man.
Wow.
GreaterSapien, you should do that too. Live. Maybe you could bring on your
I've considered, but the thing is the internet sucks, and I the last thing I want is I told him because he's thought about making a channel and this and that. I said the thing is no matter what you put on there, the first comment's going to be fag.
Yeah.
It's just
you gotta have thick skin, guys. If you want to be a content creator, if you're listening out there thinking about being a content creator, if the word fag bothers you, don't do it. If the word I'm not even going through the amount of words I've been called everything in the book. If it does not bother me, I love it. It makes me want to make another fucking video.
But he's not comfortable with that type of confrontation and stuff like that, which I'm fine with. And I'm like, so do your thing. He doesn't need to follow. He likes researching with me and doing that kind of stuff. But he's not there yet. So, and he may not be. That's the way it goes.
So one was Team Skeptic in blue. Would you have a channel?
Yeah, I posted his channel on the chat, the group chat on Google.
Okay.
Yeah, Blue Marble is somebody guys need to be paying attention to. Young kid, he's growing up. We can all watch his development. He's a smart individual, and he's in science, and you guys need to be paying attention to him. Support him. He's a kid, man. He's trying to do his thing, and he could use the support of all of us. And it's not. I'm not asking you. something. I'm saying if you go and you watch his material, he doesn't make shit up. He's telling you the truth, and he's, you know, support him. You know, support him like you would anybody else. So, but yeah, Alex, on my channel, man, I do these same types of live discussions, and I open the panel up a lot of times to the audience. So if you're ever watching, please feel free to join. Now, Kenji, I wanted to get back to something because I was going to say something about the need for, or you were asking why the ancients were in the flat Earth and why it's now losing its push and losing its drive, I guess, as we go forward. Because when the flat Earth was really strong, there was no need for it to be anything but flat. We weren't putting things into space. The only people that were even bothering with the questions were the intellectuals who looked and said, wait, this doesn't make sense. You know, why do we see the sunrise east everywhere? You know, and they're like, that can't happen on this flat model. But nobody cared. You know, it wasn't a big deal. Now we've advanced in science and technology to the point that we're putting things into space and we're looking at other places to go. So we have to know how to, you know, consume energy, the most efficient way to consume energy to get from one star to the next. And then at some time, this may not even come out of a need. This may come out of a desire once we're going to other stars to start going to other galaxies and stuff. And so we have to start somewhere. The first place we start is with our senses. What does it look like? What does it look like and feel like? It looks flat. It feels motionless. Let's start there. Intellectuals are responsible for pushing us into the next era of intelligence, like the people that are, you know, the Neil deGrasse Tysons, the scientists that are out there, the Sean Carrolls, you know, these people are pushing our intelligence to the next level, so that what we're, you know, postulating today, in 100 years from now, we're going to be talking about this like it's Newton's general law of relativity. I mean, Einstein's law of relativity.
Grade school stuff.
Yeah. So that's that. But we have to start somewhere. We're going to look back and laugh at everybody that believed in gravity. Why? Because it's not called gravity anymore, but it is gravity, but it's more defined as, you know, this particular force that we've now named it because we've discovered it, and we were able to put a particular, you know, subatomic particle to it, or we, you know, find some way to relate the force the same way we do at the Large Hadron Collider.
Right. But they'll still be probably your basic, you know, lab classes where you're still using 9.81 meters per second squared. You're still using it, but we all know that it's actually this more refined thing now. You know, it'll have been refined to something else. But you know, there'll still be the same type of, you know, kind of rudimentary gravity stuff going on, and there'll be a more refined understanding of it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
The fact that we say that now, none of that means that gravity doesn't exist.
It just means we're going to redefine it and name it something better, but it's the same thing. It's gravity.
But the fact that the flat Earth has been with us for at least 2,000 years in some fashion, to me, gives me little confidence that it's going away anytime soon, except for one fact. At some point, hopefully in our lifetimes, there's going to be greater civilian space tourism, maybe, you know, people going to the moon or whatever. And when you get far enough from Earth to see that it is a globe, when masses of people, you'll no longer be able to deny it because of something someone here said. It'll be your own senses that are confirming it. Because right now, when you sit on the Earth, your own senses tell you it's flat, it's flat, it's flat.
Right.
And my own senses tell me it's not flat because sunset.
But right now, there's always this idea that okay, so people are going out into space. It's like, you know, how many people have been in space? What, 500 something?
Right. It's not a lot.
It's them. It's those people over there.
Right.
And when it gets to the point where it's my cousin went. Now, is your cousin part of the conspiracy? You know, when it starts to become people you know, then it's going to be harder and harder for them to say, oh, it's them, it's a conspiracy,
right?
Because it's going to be, it may not be them, they may not be able to do it. But if it becomes, you know, Johnny, who used to be our paper boy, he's now an astronaut, and he's like, oh, well,
that changes.
I don't think he's part of the conspiracy. He's, you know, then it'll start to.
But you guys just actually made me think of something. The only thing I've ever posted are drone videos. I do like to fly a drone, and those things are becoming pretty prevalent. and someone just said the sunset. Well, one thing that most of us now can do, or someone who can do, is you can see a sunset from your position on the ground and from the position of the drone, 500 feet up in the air. And you can see that when the sun disappears over your horizon,
it's still up there.
You can still see it from the drone.
Yeah, Wolfie, what 6020? He did one. I don't know if you saw where he started the drone at his level and let the sun set.
Yep.
And then went up and brought the sun back
into view. Right.
So
it's already been done.
Oh, they have
perspective doesn't work that way.
Perspective, it's atmospheric refraction, it's atmospheric density.
That was the one. Magnetism.
Magnetism. I mean, they're getting creative with their excuses.
What I love about magnetism for them, or some of these forces, so they say they don't like gravity because gravity comes with all these other things that doesn't work for them, but they end up coming up with a pseudo gravity. It's magnetism, but it applies to this, and they come in like that sounds like gravity. They
believe in gravity, they just don't know it.
My favorite is density. Like, dude, do you not understand density is not a force?
Yeah.
Well, about buoyancy. Okay, well, buoyancy uses gravity inside the equation. I always ask them, is it a pushing force or is it a pulling force? Yeah. Is it pushing us down or is it pulling us down? Can you tell me then? They can't answer the basic question.
I ask this to at least one person a week, and I always preface it this way. Every week I ask this question of a flat earther, and no one has been able to tell me yet. Maybe you'll be the one to tell me. That's how I premise every single one of them. Please describe to your best ability how buoyancy works without gravity. If you don't know how, please send me a link to the place that best describes it.
I have one too.
And I just every time, and I always get
crickets
nothing.
Chirping.
But someone will say buoyancy. Someone will say buoyancy. It's buoyancy. Then I say, oh, okay. Well, you'll be the person this week. Every week I ask someone this question.
I have a challenge for the flat earth.
Yeah.
I have a challenge for the flat earth, and it is to draw me a diagram of a sunset with the trajectory of the light. You have to see the flat earth from its side, the sun above one point somewhere where the subsolar point, and the sun as seen from someone very far away where it is at the horizon.
Like, I did that Wolfie challenge he did for the equinox, and I remember seeing, was it Mr. Thrive and Survive? He did a comment like, how am I supposed to model refraction? Like, well, we can model our view very easily and very simply. Like, why can't you model your view? It's all scalable. Shouldn't you be able to model this?
Yeah, they kind of forget that refraction is a localized thing. It's not that you're not looking into refraction. Light has to travel through it. That's how optics work.
Right.
So if I can see in New York that the sun is rising in the east, due east, and then somebody can go all the way down to South America and see that the sun is rising due east, how do you explain refraction being so perfect for both of us that it puts the sun every single 6 months? Every single week will have the exact
quantum magnetism. Hello.
No, and it's such magical refraction that it somehow mirrors perfectly what it would seem like if it was a globe.
Okay, so let's
exactly. Don't you guys know it's just a dome over our heads?
So
it's amazing. It's amazing that it's no matter where you are on the earth, no matter how dry it is, no matter how wet it is, no matter what the refraction level is, it somehow brings it to exactly what it would look like if it was a globe. Amazing coincidence.
I'm gonna tell you in the future, I plan on doing a few videos and a few live streams on simulation theory. Are you familiar with that?
A little bit. I try to avoid it.
I'm doing my research right now, and it's because it explains why some people will see the Earth as flat and some people will see the Earth as round, and it also explains that if it is a flat Earth, how they could make it appear that the sun rises due east to everybody. But I mean, of course, I don't believe in that. I just want to attack the topic one time, but it is an actual theory that they are pushing these days.
Hold on, the theory that we live in a simulation, that theory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's say that I'm the only one that exists and all of you are robots or all of you are programs, okay? Or or you all exist and I'm a program. Okay. So being that you're a programmer could program you to see the sun east and always measure it flat. I mean, it can happen. It's nothing to say in modern programming we could program
there's
this.
no way. There's no. It's not.
My problem with that, it's not refutable.
Yeah, it's not refutable at all. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Falsifiable claim.
Not false. That's the word I was looking for. Falsifiable.
That's why I take it back to Dr. Lyle, being the astrophysicist and understanding the axioms and postulates that are out there. He can devise a theory that is undebunkable. It doesn't make it right. It just makes it undebunkable.
So let me. I wanted to send you something for Dr. Lyle. I couldn't find it, but if I find it, I'll post it maybe in the chat log for this. But Dr. Lyle, when he writes to real scientific journals, he does real peer-reviewed science, and it has nothing to do with creationism or young Earth or any of that. When he does research regarding to creationism and to things that are unfalsifiable, he only submits those to like the Institute for Creation.
Christian Apologetics.
Right. So this is the thing. He keeps the two things separate in his world.
Right.
One thing about the simulation
is
non-overlapping
magisterium.
Yes, exactly. But one thing about the simulation theory is this: it absolutely could be true that we live in the simulation, and that's why I'm a computer scientist. And mathematically speaking, and from a computer science perspective, we're actually almost on the verge of the point of where mathematically it might actually be more likely that we live in the simulation than not. But the point of that is if you're going to go from that and make all these unfalsifiable claims and make these claims that have no value in the real world, then it doesn't matter.
That's why I haven't really gotten into it yet. Because it's one of those things. It's like, well, then it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The thing with the global Earth model and gravity and all of astrophysics is we can use it to have cell phones, to have GPS, to send people to the moon, to send people to Mars.
Yes.
If you have a theory that has no value to us in the real world, well, then go keep it and just keep it to yourself. And that's what the big problem to me with the flat Earth model, or not the big problem, but it's no value.
I oftentimes someone will say, well, one of these, someday. There's always that, someday the truth will come out. That's the thing. When of course someday will never come. I always say, you'll be on your deathbed and you'll still be feeling good going, someday.
Wait.
Now, hey,
but they say that, and I say, yes, you can say someday all you want, and eventually, and maybe eventually that day will come. But until then, you will be reaping the benefits of the technology and the science that have come about, and the inventions that have come about through mainstream accepted science, through the theories, through the technologies that we've been coming up with this, and nothing will have been contributed to society by flat Earth.
Exactly.
But that's fine. We'll take care of you. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and you just wait for your someday.
Yeah, pretty much. You can say whatever you want. If you cannot make a prediction, then I'm not going to follow you. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing when it comes to the broad definitions of God. People say, are you an atheist or an agnostic? I'm like, well, all depends on how you define God. And when someone says, well, I think the laws of the universe, kind of are God, and I'm like, okay, fine. That's of no value. That's okay. Go ahead. But
if it makes you feel better to put that label on it, fine. But as long as we agree on what those laws are,
exactly.
Exactly.
But you say, well, I believe in a personal God that intervenes in your personal life, and He did this, and this is. I said, okay, now we can have a discussion. I don't believe that for these reasons, blah blah blah. But if you just go, I think just the universe is God. I'm like, okay. What value is that? That's
one thing I see is that people will use the God of the gaps theory, like with quantum mechanics, this thing we don't understand, like we don't understand it, well that's God. I'm like, no, it can't be. Like, okay, that's what if we figure out what really causes it, then where does your God go? I've seen this with a lot of flat earthers. They try to do try to fulfill certain gaps, like question our gaps, like how does gravity work? Well, we have a theory on how it works, we have a theory about the time space, but you have no scientific understanding of the basics of it. How are you expected to understand the advanced theories of it?
May I say something about this?
Yes.
Yeah, good point.
It's when you go back maybe 200 years ago, a lot of philosophers use the same theory. Just because you don't understand one part of the question you ask, so it might be God because it's so complex. So it must be the the act of God because it's too complex for us. Remember, God was called the great architect. That's the reason why the Masons, they use the compass. The architects, the great architect knows everything about everything. It's too complex for you, so you can understand. So it must be God. Remember, you have philosopher like the French philosopher like René Descartes, a great philosopher, respectable, very intelligent. Nevertheless, every time there is some part that you could not really grasp or understand, he used to say the same thing. It might be the act of God because this part is too complex for us human beings, so it must be God.
Exactly what Newton did when he could figure out the motion of planets.
Yeah.
Right. And then every time we learn something new, then it goes into the realm of man. Right. And the things that we don't understand stays in the realm of God. And then we learn something else, figure out something else. And then as time goes on, that realm that is, explainable by God, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yep. My favorite example of that.
Some of us have just, as far as I'm concerned, I've seen the trend. Yep. I'm looking at that trend line and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to I can see where it's going. I've gotten to the ending already. I'll wait for you guys, but I'm already there.
My favorite example of that is for you, JB, Pierre Laplace, and his model of the solar system. And when he had completed his model, he was asked, well, where, he had all these contraptions that controlled it, and it was based on, gravitational model. And Laplace was asked, where is God in this? And he's like, well, there was no need for that hypothesis.
Now, I want to ask, was that before the development or after the development of Occam's razor? That's what I want, because to know that may have influenced his answer, because if it was post Occam's razor, then maybe it's not saying Laplace did actually believe in God, but maybe he would have been influenced to present God because it was ancient Roman times, correct? Am I correct on that?
So yeah, I mean, Laplace could have believed. Laplace, I'm trying to see who was first, him or Occam, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if it's post Occam's razor, it very much explains why he leaves God out of it and says, "Hey, I need to give this explanation with as much simplicity as possible, so let's leave God out."
And simplifying things has been around. I think Occam just kind of like became like the push. He said it in such a way that it became kind of his thing. But it's still completely possible that the person could have been a theist and believed in God, and just didn't need it in that situation, that scenario. That's just the way it goes.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so it was, just for the record, Laplace was 400 years after Occam. So Occam had spoken first.
Yeah.
So maybe Occam's razor had influenced his decision to present it to the emperor that way.
Maybe. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's just one of those. It kind of goes to, a lot of people say, ask me why I don't believe in God. And it's mainly because I have yet to see anything that requires one to exist. So I'm not going to add it to the situation. Just it's like, it's not that there are people who are like, I believe that no God exists people.
That's not me.
And then there are these like, I don't believe, in one. Why? Because I see no need. Why would I add to? Now, if I start to see a need, then I start going, But right now, there's nothing that I can see in the universe and the nature of the universe that requires the addition of a God. Now, we can be very specific about, do I believe in the Christian God? And I can say, I believe that one does not exist, as explained there. But, because just internally, it's inconsistent as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So that one does not exist. But it's kind of an Occam's razor type of thing. Why add something to the universe and believe in it when I don't see any need for it? It's it's not that difficult, but it's funny how people find it incredibly difficult to understand that concept.
My biggest concern is that there can never be a conversation. Like for me, it's like I was raised Catholic. I remember I went to stay at a friend's house and they fed me. It's like, oh, we're having Bible study. You should join us. I'm like, I felt almost like I'm obligated because you just fed me that I can't say no. So I joined them, and one of the persons there was like, he was ex-military. He's going through PTSD, and he found God, and he's almost too fanatical with it. And like, wasn't comfortable talking with him. But there's another guy that I had a conversation with, and it's more of a he coming at me, coming at a curiosity. Like, it just happened to be a topic of death. Like, what? Like, I'm just curious. You said you're like kind of pretty atheistic. What is your view on death, and what do you view what happens to that? And like, for me, it's like that curiosity, that conversation, without having like, no, you are wrong. Like no, let's just have a conversation. What do you believe in? What do I believe in? And can our beliefs, can what I say, can it change you to think, evolve your view of religion? Because like, I had a thought, like, what if deep meditation and prayer are the deep prayer that you see, like the past, like the people who are going stigmata and all this stuff, isn't that just form of deep meditation that the Buddhists do? I mean, a lot of this stuff relates to each other.
Absolutely. As being somebody who actually promotes meditation, I can tell you that in most religions, okay, they don't tell you, and other than probably Islam, where they tell you to pray towards Mecca. In most religions, they'll tell you that God resides inside of you. They say that your body is the temple of God. That's what most religions will kind of infer. Coming from a Christian point of view, that's how we relate it. But I've done a little bit of research on this, and most of them tell you to look for the Spirit of God inside of you, not outside of you. And so that is what meditation is. Meditation is looking beyond the egotistical side of you, which is the exterior. We all want everybody to like how we look and how we act and how we feel about ourselves and everything like that. But inside, we accept ourselves for whatever problems we have, whatever uniqueness that makes us individuals. And that's finding that, being okay, getting beyond the ego and accepting your spiritual side. That is the ultimate form of being godlike to me, of being able to be non-egotistical and as spiritual as possible. And it has nothing to do with believing in a God or not. It has everything to do with believing of the power that's within you to create different universes in your mind. You are that powerful. I can talk to you. I can talk to you about the power of each individual person right here without having to go into any kind of pseudoscientific fucking explanation.
Well, it's interesting. What I find really, I'm finding wonderful about this conversation and the people who are involved in it, because like I said, I'm an atheist / agnostic. Like I said, depending on how you define things, and many of you are, but we have an attitude toward spirituality and toward these type of things that I think is very welcoming to those who don't agree with us, and that's why I'd like to see more content from all of you guys, because it unlike a lot of the content that's out there from people who are non-believers, a lot of the non-believers out there are assholes that are producing content. They turn off believers who might be more accepting of the science, but it's like, well, I want to hear him about his science, but he's such a dick of an asshole of an atheist. I don't want to listen to him. But if you're a person who you don't necessarily believe, but you can speak to someone who does in a way that respects their belief, it's that way for them to be more receptive to science and things like that. I mean, I'm in part of my martial arts practice. There's a lot of meditation. I lead meditations, opening every class, and closing every class with the children. We teach them all the time. And one of the first things we do in CLOT is we bow, but we don't bow to each other. We bow to ourselves. We bow to respect ourselves in our practice and our growth, knowing our growth contributes to someone else's growth and things like that. It's a very personal thing. All the meditation is very personal. But I just wanted to mention that I think that's something that all of us so far, I mean, not everyone has mentioned where they are on religious views, but I think that's something else that we all can kind of contribute in our content that is appealing, is that even though we may not be believers, we're not anti-believers. We're not like, right, rejecting of the other person's, right and the validity of their belief as it applies to them. And I think that's very important in communicating with people. if they don't see you as an enemy of their personal belief, of their their ability, their own spirituality, I think it's a powerful inroad.
I remember seeing a video. Well, I
Sorry.
remember seeing a video of the Dalai Lama, and he was like, one of the biggest things he wants to do is collect some of the top spiritual leaders from every religion and just have conversations with them. And through that conversation, it can help them understand their own beliefs a little bit better, or have a different view of what they believe in. Not just to change, I want you to be Buddhist. No. You want this? What do you believe in this? And let's have conversation. Okay, how does this relate to my beliefs? And this kind of open communication can really help you grow, help everyone grow, and change the way we see things. And maybe because I remember hearing about like what Einstein, he wholly believed in naps, and what he would do, most of his theories came from when he's just daydreaming, sitting there, and it's almost like a meditation state where he just almost zoned out and just let his mind open up. And it's very similar to meditation. People, and this kind of open communication kind of things would all relate to each other, and people should be open to that. And my biggest problem is with most religious people, they're so close-minded that like if you try to talk about different beliefs, like, no, you're wrong. It's like no, we can't have that.
But honestly, a lot of atheists online are the same way.
Yeah,
they're very dogmatic. I mean, just in terms of just shutting people down, and not allowing them the room to explore, what the things they have in common, and have that conversation. But that's not what I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing that amongst the people here, and I think that's great.
To bounce on what has been said earlier, first of all, about what Father Skeptic said. By the way, nice channel, by the way, Father. I like it. Thank you. And I definitely agree. And if you pay attention, it's written on the Bible. Search for God within you.
Within you.
In the Bible. If you read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it's written in this book. Search for God within you. Hence the meditation, because ancient Egyptians were meditating too. It's all written in plain sight, but we don't pay attention. We don't read. We assume things, we believe, but we don't do research. See?
Well, can I intercede 1 second, Greater Sapien, because I do have to get off right now, and I do want to say thank you to everybody.
Sum this up in about 5 minutes, because it's been 3 hours. So hey.
Well, I want to say first off, if there are any flat earthers out there listening, believe me, we all are fighting the same fight for survival. Look within yourself to find your God, just like I look within myself to find my God, whether my God's the God of science or not. So if that's the way we all approach things and we all have a good, loving view, it doesn't really matter whether the earth is flat or not. Just be there and love each other and find peace within yourself. Greater Sapien, I want to thank you, sir, for letting me on today.
My pleasure.
I'm looking forward to the next conversation. We need to get into some deep conversations and talk about some of these fundamental flaws in their philosophies, because I see how you like to break them down in their philosophical views and in their logical fallacies. So I don't do enough of that. I kind of point out more of their scientific fundamental fallacies more than I do on their philosophical fallacies.
Absolutely necessary. That's what I like about the fact that we're all coming at it from a different way.
Reason posted in the side chat. He's been trying to talk, but he keeps getting kicked out. Sorry you couldn't say anything. Reason
because of the connection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Paco, great shit today, man. Thank you very much for your input. I did actually took some something said earlier was very intuitive to me, so I'm gonna go and research that a little bit. You had said something about when we were speaking much earlier. You posted on the side, I believe, about it, but
oh yeah, the sunset stuff.
No, there was something. It was when I first got in. I'll have to go back and watch the stream itself to pick it up.
Oh, all right.
But I will. You said something to me that piqued my interest. I was like, ooh, shit. JB, again with you, man. If you're ever on my channel when we're doing a live stream, feel free to click the Hangout link. Join as well. You have some great information to be putting in. You're coming from a completely different culture than I could ever personally put myself in, and I'd love to get your opinion on many different things.
No problem.
Blue Marble, I'll leave you last. Blue Marble, and I'm sorry I'm taking your time. Greater Sapien.
No problem. Go ahead.
If you're there later, I'd love to see you, man. We need your youngster input as well. Alex, you're invited to my stream anytime. I do want to talk to you about your computer science degree, because I have a lot of theories about how God would be treating us if he was a computer programmer. So I want to get it from a computer programmer's perspective.
Sure.
And if you come on tonight, if you do have enough time tonight, I would be more than happy to talk about that with you this evening. So, GreaterSapien, brother, I love you, man. I hope I'm out in fucking West Coast at some point so I can be out there and we can meet in person.
Yeah, I don't know where everyone is right now. I'm gonna be in Philly in
that's
June.
my neck.
I'm gonna be out there in June for about a week. Maybe I can.
Hey man, don't forget to come to Montreal to pay us a visit, right?
And my the company I work for, we just got an office in Dallas, so I might be going out there at some point.
Do not ever say that. I'm in Dallas.
Yeah, okay. So I will let you know if I ever get out that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. But guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really got to go, guys. I really appreciate it again, and you have finish off your hangout, doing amazing. I'm gonna be listening while you finish off. Thank you, guys. Thank everybody in the comment section. You guys keep supporting GreaterSapien. He's amazing, amazing content creator, and as you can see from the live streams, he does more than just content create amazingly. So support that man.
It's a pleasure meeting your father.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That's just a hilarious thing.
I look forward to meeting each one of you guys in a personal, in my own personal live stream, so we can get you guys introduced to my subscribers as well. Y'all have a great day, and we will catch you guys later. I'm out.
Hey, nice day too.
See ya.
Yeah. Honestly, hey, Blue, are you working on anything right now?
Working on anything?
Yeah, like producing any new videos. Are you working on anything particularly right now?
Oh, I just uploaded, but currently editing another one.
What's the subject? Who you're going after?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh yeah. So if you haven't already, check out Blue Marble's channel. We want to make sure that he's getting the props that he needs. It's going to be good.
There's something I wanted to add. When we debate people, we see that very often, and people are not respectful with each other. And my number one rule is that the first person who insults the other lose.
Yeah. I never fire on somebody first. Yeah, I am of the mind that I give what I get. It's like you come at me cool, I give you cool. You come at me hard, then I come back at you hard. Or sometimes I just get even cooler on you because just to make you get more mad. but no, I don't. I don't believe it's necessary. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I need to get a T-shirt that says it. But it's like science doesn't give a fuck. It just doesn't. There's no need to get emotional, and math isn't happy. Math isn't mad. Math is just math, and there's no reason to get if you're getting emotional about it and just really just angry. That tells me you're not thinking about the science anymore. You're out of that. You're in your emotions. You're in your feels. You're somewhere else, but you're not in the science because the science doesn't. It just is. It doesn't care.
Funny. It's funny. Something I say to my daughter is, no matter how angry you get, 2 + 2 is still 4.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say the one truth that we learn in school is math, because literature can change, our view of history can change, even science can change.
Right.
But the one thing that will never change is the math. Math is always going to be this. It's simplistic in its terms.
Yeah.
So
there's no reason to get hot. There's no reason to get hot.
Nope.
Pure logic. It doesn't allow for craps and whatnot. It's a language working on pure logic. That's all.
Okay, I'm gonna check out too. GreaterSapien. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's wrap this up. Thank you very much. I'm gonna make sure I subscribe to everyone that's here that I haven't already subscribed to.
Okay.
There's a bunch of links in the little sub chat that people have put in. Looks like there's some good information going on. Scrape through there and pull up the information that people have shared. But anyone have a closing statement before I say peace out? Blue, anything?
I'd just like to say that it's great having great conversation, because most YouTube conversation I have are with flat earthers, and it's hard to get a good, decent conversation with them. So it was great chatting with everyone, guys. It was
No, it's great.
hearing everyone's views.
It took some twists and turns that I didn't expect, and I'm actually kind of glad about that. I like the way it kind of organically went in different places. That was good.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kenji. Paco?
I'm kind of more open to sharing my voice, be speaking in English with people. I don't do that very often, and to me that's a bit of practice, and it's fun to see the community being able to talk with people with similar ideas and whatnot.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in, and you were here the whole time, man. You stayed the whole length. You're good on you, man. So thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you more.
No problem.
Hey, Reason? Anything?
Nope.
I think Reason's gone. Reason's gone. Kenji, thank you very much. Hey, Blue, you there?
Yeah.
You got a closing statement? Any thoughts before we go?
Not really.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I think this was great. I think we had a conversation here, some introduction to some modes of thinking that honestly I didn't. Not that I didn't expect, but I'm happily surprised that the depth and the nuance of thinking and points of view that came about today. I expected to just have to shoulder this hangout for as long as possible, just making up random topics. But you guys all came with your own unique points of view, and we were able to get a good conversation going, a lot of communication. Thank you very much for making this maid voyage of an open hangout as easy as it was, and I look forward to doing these again. Take care, everybody.
See ya.